Hola, amigos.
Talk Sport.
Licensed broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
Absolute brilliant goal!
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Radio that will grab you by the cojones.
Every game, every goal, every day.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham and he's Mike Parry and you're listening to Extra Time. The two Mikes are keeping you entertained throughout the night. Luis Suarez is no more. He has ceased to be. The man who could have been the star of the Brazil World Cup is now pariah of the game. Or is it piranha? And it's all because of this moment of madness.
There's been a collision off the ball on the edge of the 6-yard area. Free kick to Italy is given. That's very interesting, isn't it? Suarez appeared to move his head towards Chiellini. Well, did he go to bite him there?
Luis Suarez is suspended for 9 matches and banned for 4 months from any football-related activity. The player Luis Suarez is prohibited from entering the confines of any stadium during the period of the ban.
So Suarez has completely kippered himself here, hasn't he? He can't play FIFA 14, he can't watch any games on TV, he can't wear a Liverpool shirt, it looks like he can't even train with the club either. What a complete and utter idiot. The striker of the world at his feet, now he's a complete outcast and he's only got himself to blame. Whether you think the punishment is too harsh is irrelevant, whether you think Liverpool have been treated unfairly makes no difference. He's brought all this on himself and they are partly to blame as well. 08717 223344. Coming up on the show, we're going to give Porky Parry a music test as it's Glastonbury weekend. And he's going to be telling us how he's found a cure for hay fever. I can't wait. He's wearing a pair of sunglasses even as we speak. What on earth have you got on?
Well, look, I'm trying to help the world because hay fever is the most common, uncurable illness in the world.
I thought you found a cure for it.
Well, you can't find a cure. It's like there's lots of things you can't find a cure for, but I know how to stop it happening. I mean, for instance, listen to this. Now, that's me inhaling lemon juice, right? And the reason I've got... Well, I'll tell you what I've got.
Tell me about it in a minute. Tell me about it in a minute.
Yeah.
You're listening to the two Mikes on Extra Time. This is Talk Sport. I just looked up there in the midst of doing the opener to the show and almost guffawed with laughter at the way that you now look. You've got a bottle of lemon juice in your hand. You've got a hanky of some description.
Well, that's soaked in lemon juice.
And it's not really lemon juice, is it? It's that fake lemon juice.
No,
Everything you've got is fake.
It's not. It says lemon juice.
Yeah, but it's fake lemon juice in a bottle. It's not lemon juice from a lemon.
It comes from the cooperative and... No, it does. It says the cooperative lemon juice made with concentrated lemon juice.
Yeah.
So what is it then?
It's not from the lemon, is it?
Of course it is
It's
from a lemon. If it's
artificially
concentrated
created.
lemon juice, where do you think they got it from? A plum?
Yeah, but they've got other things in it. Why don't you check the additives as
You're
well?
more
See
of a
what-
plum than that.
We'll see what else is in it.
Than this is.
Let me
Anyway,
see what else is in it.
No, it doesn't matter what's in it. It's concentrated lemon juice. Look, the reason I've got it is I put it on this tissue.
You can sit here sniffing the tissue all night.
If I keep
Like
inhaling
some kind
it,
of dowager.
put a bit more on like that, right? And if I keep inhaling it, I swear to you, and I dab my eyes with it, my hay fever symptoms go away.
I don't think you should dab your eyes with lemon juice.
No,
You'll
I
never be able
can.
to see.
No, I can. I put it just under my eyes like that, and then the lemon juice fumes go into my eyeballs, and it helps. But the other...
I think that sounds very unwise.
No, the other thing is, the reason I've got the dark glasses on is this is not a gimmick or anything like that. I'm telling you that you wear dark glasses during the day if you've got hay fever, because...
Well, usually you wear them because it's sunny.
Yes, but hay fever is...
Also, they're very odd-looking glasses. Where'd you get those? They're not
you-
like proper sunglasses, are they?
I got them from
They're like
an
child
optician.
sunglasses. They look like the ones that Seagull stole from me last summer.
These are authentic police sunglasses. Can't you see that on the inside of that frame?
Oh, what, it says police?
Yeah, it says
So you
police.
think that means that they're authentic police sunglasses?
Well, what do you think they are then?
What, you mean the police wear them?
No, you fool. The police is a very, very modern, exclusive brand of sunglasses, isn't it? Is it?
I don't
of course
know.
it is.
I wear
Don't you?
Ray-Bans
You know
myself.
nothing. You know nothing. Anyway, look, the point is that you don't understand, you see. The reason you wear sunglasses during the day if you've got hay fever is because it's actually the sunbeams that get you. That's what triggers your hay fever. So if you wear proper sunglasses like these police ones I've got on, it actually filters out, right? It filters out the... Look, I'll show you the...
You look very odd, is all I know.
I'll show you the lemon bottle, look.
You look like some kind of refugee from the Glastonbury Festival.
No.
1973.
Look, what I'm trying to say to you, if you just listen, please, is that you wear the dark sunglasses because it filters out the sunbeam effect, okay?
Well, there's no sun in here.
No, I know, but what most people don't understand, but I do because I've done a lot of research on this, because I always believe if you've got a problem, you've got to solve it yourself. How do you solve it? You do diligent research and you apply yourself to the problem. I've applied myself and found out that moonbeams are just as dangerous in triggering hay fever as sunbeams.
How can you have moonbeams then?
Well, they
The
come
moon
from
doesn't
the moon.
emit any light, does it?
Of course it emits light.
No, it only reflects it.
No.
So technically, whatever you're getting from the moon is coming from the sun.
I totally agree, and you are totally right. You've got it absolutely right. So, in fact, the light coming from the moon, the reflection from the sun, are still sunbeams.
So how are they moonbeams then?
Well,
Can't be
because
both.
No, because they're bouncing off the moon, therefore they're called moonbeams.
I see.
And not called sunbeams.
Right.
Okay, and that's the point.
Well,
But
there are no moonbeams in here.
you don't get it, Mike. Every time you and I go into a break or come out of a break or something like that, the two red lights, three, is there in here? Yeah, three.
Three red lights.
Three
yeah.
red lights.
The live lights. Yeah.
Very, very bright.
Yeah.
The live, but every time they come on, they trigger the same effect in your brain as a moonbeam or a sunbeam. And the fact that it's red and not yellow is irrelevant. And that, again, can trigger
Why
your...
would it be yellow?
Hey?
Why would it be yellow?
Well, it's not. What
They're
I'm
always
saying...
red, aren't they? Live lights are always red.
I'm saying that sunbeams and moonbeams are yellow. That although these beams are not yellow and they're red, it still triggers the same effect in your brain. Your brain thinks they're sunbeams, and that's why I'm continuing to wear my glasses throughout the show tonight, in case.
You're having some kind of weird effect on me, because now I'm starting to feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Well, you see, you're not protecting yourself, and I am.
Well, because until this moment, I haven't had hay fever.
Well, that's your problem, mate, not mine. I mean,
should have brought it in with you.
I don't want to feel unsympathetic, but I mean, when I've got a problem, I address it, I sort it, and I conquer it. The trouble with you is when you've got a problem, you either disappear into a wine bar, bury your head in the sand, or get in your new car and drive off down to Kent and hope that you will leave the world behind.
We're not going to have another night of you just insulting me.
No, not at all.
A lot of people thought you were a bit over the top the other day.
On what?
You're just kind of, going on about my moral compass and raving on and on about what a terrible person I was.
I got quite a good response to that from people who are saying that without me, you probably would be in a worse state morally than you are. And I sent you a little joke about, your shirt being used as a tent at Glastonbury, because I thought, it's a little camaraderie, I'm sure you'll understand. You, of course, sent back a poison note, very poisonous note. Because I said, are your elder children going to Glastonbury and will they be using one of your shirts as a tent? Ha, 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 ha. Bit of a joke. I think if you send out a tweet and you put ha, ha, ha at the end, people generally accept it's a bit of a joke. It's a laugh. It's not meant to be serious, okay?
Even though it's insulting.
What do? You send me one back saying, are your children going to Glastonbury?
Are they?
A poisonous attack.
Are your children going to Glastonbury?
Mate, you know that the search for the first Mrs. Parry is still going on.
Yeah.
Therefore, because I have a sense of responsibility and we only have children inside wedlock, I don't have any children outside of wedlock, unlike you.
Yes.
So, for that reason, the answer is no. Of course my children will be going to Glastonbury.
Well, I'm
'cause I
glad
haven't
you
got
brought Glastonbury up, because we're going to be giving you a little musical test coming up a little bit later on. It's going to be based upon the kind of name that tune type thing.
You
We'll
think
try
you're
and
gonna
make
catch
it.
me out?
Well, we probably will catch you out, as we normally do. But it is Glastonbury weekend, so if you're down there listening, you can, of course, call us 08717 223344. We've got a lot to talk about tonight,
We've
Mike,
got an awful lot
because,
to talk about. I mean, there's the Suarez situation.
Yeah.
All you're concentrating on are hay fever situations, Glastonbury, and, a lot of superfluous... Sorry?
We're going to talk about drinking a little bit later on as well. There's an amazing story on the front page of one of the papers this morning in which they're highlighting that this new leader of the European Union might have a drinking problem, which is extraordinary.
We saw that the other day. This guy's name is Jean-Claude Juncker.
Yeah.
On the front of the Daily Telegraph, highly respectable newspaper, fears over Juncker's drinking. Now, we highlighted this the other day when we saw a report which said this man actually drinks brandy for breakfast, and there was a report of a recent meeting, a diplomatic meeting in Brussels, where at 10 o'clock in the morning he was slumped behind his desk and couldn't get up.
Right.
I mean, these are allegations, of course, which we can't prove, but...
It sounds a bit like the Charlie Kennedy scenario, doesn't it? Charlie Kennedy, the Lib Dem leader?
I certainly do, and he got up in Parliament to try and make a speech, and he was sweating so profusely and stuttering and falling about and looking like he was very, very ill. Some people actually accused him of being under the influence of last night's alcoholic intoxication.
Well, he used to miss an awful lot of the afternoon sessions,
something which, of course, he denied, and we must point that out, and it was an allegation.
Yeah. Well, I think he came clean with it about some point. Anyway, but we're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about Suarez, because I think you've been on social media saying that you've got some sympathy with Luis Suarez, which I think is absolutely ludicrous.
I have not said I've got sympathy with him.
You said you felt sorry for him.
I have not even said that, Mike. What I've said is...
Do you want me to find it and read it out to you?
Yeah, because I didn't say it. If you get an elbow in the face and it breaks your cheekbone, if you get a two-footed tackle that breaks your leg, I think you're in a far more serious situation in terms of being badly injured by a fellow player than you are the couple of scratch marks on the back of your on your back. And I know it's subhuman.
What about? I mean, we've heard a lot of these conversations going on TalkSport throughout the course of the day, ever since this ban was handed out. It's an extraordinary ban, by the way, because not only, as you heard, is he not allowed to play for Uruguay, and he's not allowed to play for Liverpool, but he's not allowed to be involved in any football-related activity.
Can't go training.
He can't go training. He's returned to Uruguay. We're going to be talking to a Uruguayan journalist a little bit later on. So some kind of hero's welcome, which I find bizarre.
Yeah.
And also, he's not allowed to get involved in watching Uruguay play. He can't even go to the Maracanã. He can't actually, I presume, then get involved in any kind of football-related activity.
Well, he's not even in Brazil. He's in Uruguay.
Yeah, he's gone back to Uruguay.
So why would he go to the Maracanã?
I just said he's got a hero's welcome.
Yeah, and then you said he can't even go into the Maracanã.
No, he can't, no. But
well, if he's in Uruguay, he's not allowed to go to the Maracanã.
Well, presumably
unless he fancies a very long walk.
That's one of the reasons why he decided to get out of Brazil, presumably, because he can't actually even go and watch the team play. I mean, presumably he can't now play FIFA 14. He can't wear a Liverpool shirt. He can't go training with Liverpool. He can't even go down to the pub if there's a game on, presumably. I mean, we want to have people actually texting us and tweeting us tonight. And what things can he do, or what things can't he do, which are football related? I mean, even Jaffa Cakes have got football on them now. If he picks up a pack of Jaffa Cakes, does that mean he's not allowed to eat a pack of Jaffa
ridiculous.
Cakes?
It means he can't go into anything that's a football arena or anything related.
Can't go to a ground?
He can't go anywhere that's related to pursuing the profession of professional football. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And for all those Liverpool fans who say that, Liverpool are being unfairly treated, I've got one message for them. They took a risk with Luis Suarez. They could have got shot of him last season. They didn't. They took the risk, and now they're paying the price because he's let them down.
He won Footballer of the Season twice. Liverpool came within a whisker of winning the Premier League because of him.
Yeah.
And he has become the world's best footballer. So I think Liverpool took exactly the right decision.
Yeah, but they now are going to have to pay the price. And so they can't really complain.
Either they or Barcelona are going to have to pay the price, aren't they? I mean, that's obvious. We just don't know. We want
to hear from you Liverpool fans tonight. 08717 22 33 44 is the number. Mike Parry's here, of course. His cure for hay fever remains to be seen. We're going to be giving it a test.
Well, I bet you I don't get hay fever during the course of this show tonight.
Well, you shouldn't.
And that is a victory, because to go 3 or 4 hours without getting an attack, even in the middle of the night, when normally people are sneezing and rolling around in agony, well, not agony, but in frustration, it's not going to happen to me.
You finished?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Thank you very much. We are the Two Mikes. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. I've just posted a picture onto Twitter of this rather bizarre look that he's got with his sunglasses and his lemon juice and his hanky and all that, looking very, very strange, claiming that it's going to be the cure for hay fever.
The only reason I agreed to let you do that picture is because I don't want to make fun of this, but if it helps somebody to ease...
It's not going to help anybody.
No, it will.
People have a laugh.
It will, to help ease the symptoms of hay fever. I'm being reminded by a few tweets that, I can't claim that this is a medical cure for hay fever, and I'm not claiming that at all. What I'm saying is, it is a way of easing the symptoms of hay fever quite dramatically. I found it works very, very well indeed, and I hope it helps other people. I'm here to help. I'm here to, I swear to you, one of the greatest pleasures I get out of life is easing the agony and the pain of life for other people. And that's what I want to do, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you can do that. Maybe you can help ease the pain and agony of Luis Suarez, who's now been banned from all football-related activities for 4 months. It's going to keep him out of the Uruguay team, of course. He's out of the World Cup now. He's not going to be able to play for Liverpool until November. He's going to miss the Champions League. What a complete and utter plank is what I'd like to say. The thing that bizarrely I find very strange, though, is that he's just returned to Montevideo in Uruguay to some kind of hero's welcome. And as you might expect, here at TalkSport, we've managed to get somebody who's in Montevideo to tell us precisely what the atmosphere is like there and why they're giving him a hero's welcome. It's Daniel Supervielle, who's the Uruguayan football journalist down there. Daniel, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Hello. Good morning for you in the UK.
Thank you very much for joining us, Daniel. So we're slightly puzzled here that Luis Suarez, who's become a sort of pariah in the World Cup, he's been thrown out of the World Cup. He's not going to play for Liverpool for at least 4 or 5 months. It looks as though he's returned to Montevideo to a kind of hero's welcome.
Well, in a certain way, a hero's welcome, yes, but more of a kind of a human being that has been being booed from the cup in a outrageous way that no one here can believe, that there's a punishment of 4 months, 9 games. It's absurd, ridiculous. And although he committed a mistake in the game against Italy, he's not receiving a hero's welcome. We are receiving a soldier that came back, that they banned him from the cup in an absurd way by this FIFA mafia, putting a very strong law against a human being, just a football player that committed second of mistake in the game, so we think it's ridiculous, and it's not a hero welcome. It is the returning of a good person that loves his country, and that's why many people came out to the streets. But a thing is, we don't know if he arrived yet. There's lots of people in the airport. Some news say that the plane has arrived, that Suarez is in Montevideo. Others say that he's arriving in a few minutes. So it's a little bit messy, the information in this moment. I live a few blocks from the airport.
Right, OK. Now Daniel, I think that there was a lot of hysteria, certainly back in this country, in England, where Luis Suarez plays his football, about this incident. However, he did bite another human being. So can you tell me, please, what is the attitude in your country, Uruguay, to going around and biting somebody else during a competitive football match?
Okay, it is wrong. And we all here in Uruguay know it is a wrong attitude, and it is a mistake. We all know that. On the other hand, we also know that in the 90 minutes of a game, when you are playing with the blood pumping in your heart, in the minute 80, I think it was, with lack of oxygen, it was nearly 37 degrees of temperature in that game against Italy, you can make a mistake. And that is what happened. He was fighting for a position with this back of Italy, and I know he's a tough back, a tough defender of Italy. Everybody in the football knows that this Chiellini is not an angel playing football. And in that struggle for the position in the small box, Suarez knocked his head and put his teeth in the shoulder of this Italian guy. It was a second. But what happens? You have 40 cameras, 50 cameras, how many photographers taking pictures of that moment. And once the game ends, you keep on playing the game. And then came all the fuss in the media and the social media.
But do you think he should have been punished, Daniel? Do you think he should have been punished?
No, I think he has to be punished. I think that's correct. But what I think is that the punishment is too hard.
Right.
But in the end, Daniel, right, the main punishment would have been, however lenient it might have been, would have been to miss the next game in the World Cup in any event, even if that was only the punishment it was, that would be one game of a ban. And so he's let down Uruguay, because without Luis Suarez, Uruguay will be kicked out of the World Cup, and I don't understand why anybody doesn't blame him for that, because you say that, you know, he was in the heat of the moment, it was very hot, and, you know, he was perhaps dehydrated, but when he bit Branislav Ivanovic playing for Chelsea, it wasn't 37 degrees, he wasn't, in any danger there of losing the game. You know, it's a completely different thing, and he's done this for 3 different occasions to 3 different players, and that's why the punishment is so harsh.
Okay, I give you that one. You know, you must understand, maybe it's a question of football culture, of the way here we live, and we live football here in Uruguay. You have to understand this thing. Here in Uruguay, football is everything, you know. It's the main sport, and since we are kids, we play in the neighborhood from this block against the team of the next block, and you have to win. And what happens in the pitch stays in the pitch. We don't take that thing to the bar or to the judge, you know. Once the game is over, it's over. And if the referee didn't saw you doing some infraction, some foul, there's no problem, man. It's okay.
Yeah, but that's not how football is now, Daniel. Because of all the cameras, because of the fact that referees cannot see everything, and because they can miss things. Sometimes after games, there is something called retrospective punishment, and surely Luis Suarez must know that. And he has made a colossal error, not just against Uruguay, but against Liverpool, against himself. You know, he could have been the star of the World Cup, and instead, you know, he's now shamefully walking out of it, and he takes no further part in it. And I think that's quite sad.
Okay, I give you that one. But do you think it's such a way? You know, we have people starving in the north of Africa. We have people dying in Syria. It was just a mistake and it was not. Uruguay didn't take advantage of that mistake Suarez made against Italy. It's just a man. He's not a a PhD of Harvard. You know, he's just a football player, and
Daniel,
he made a mistake. I admit it's a mistake.
Yeah, Daniel, I want to put this to you, because I obviously think he had to be punished, but I do think it's kind of hysterical in, this country. I think it's gone hysterical. Now, let me put this to you, Daniel. South American footballers are renowned for sometimes being a little bit wild in the tackle, and I think that any man who launches a tackle on another footballer and threatens to break his leg, or any man who throws an elbow into the face of another footballer and smashes his cheekbone or his face bones, I think that's a far more serious assault, a physical assault, on a footballer than actually biting him. But the reason biting is so bad is because it's not human behaviour, and that's what he's being punished for. But you can endanger footballers in much, much more serious ways than just biting them, I think.
Okay, it's correct. It's a big mistake. I admit that. It's a big mistake. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm arguing that the punishment is too hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
So what do you think
for the man, for the human being behind Suarez, the football player?
Well, you keep saying he's a human being. He behaves like a dog. He keeps biting people.
No, that's unfair, Mike.
That's not unfair.
No, that's unfair.
If a dog bites somebody 3 times, the dog gets put down. Simple as that. Sorry.
No.
Excuse me. Let me talk to Daniel.
He's got
here.
a physical problem here where he lashes out with his teeth when in the heat of the moment, as Daniel said,
normal.
At a pressure point. And listen, you've also got to give genius some sort of leeway. And he is genius because he's the world's best footballer. So I would give him, I'd give John Lennon a bit of leeway on strange things
Has
that
he
John
ever bitten
Lennon.
anybody?
No, of course he's never bitten anybody. You know that, you fool. What I'm saying that extraordinary people and people who carry genius around in them are sometimes capable of extraordinary acts. I mean, for instance, Van Gogh cut his own ear off. Now, that's not normal, but the man was a genius. And sometimes people who are genius...
He didn't cut somebody else's ear off, though, did he?
It doesn't matter. I mean, do you know anybody else who goes around cutting their own ear off?
No.
No, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's extraordinary
So
behaviour.
you think Mike Tyson's a genius?
Daniel, what do you think about the future of Suarez now? Do you think he will become very bitter about the way that the football authorities have treated him, and therefore may make some different decisions for the future of his playing career?
Well, I think that once again, listen, Suarez is a good person. He's a good father. He's a working man. He's not in the night. He's not in drugs. He's a good person, I'm talking about the human being. And as a human being, I know Suarez will recover from this moment. When he left today the hotel of Uruguay, he went out crying. He was weeping. He's very sad. All the people is very sad. And I know he will return, and he will be the great footballer he is, and the world will again... clap him.
Do you think he will learn? Do you think, Daniel, he will learn his lesson? Do you think he will learn his lesson now?
I hope. I really hope for Suarez, for Uruguay, and for the benefit of football itself, because I think football in a certain way it's something tragic. No, sometimes football needs this kind of footballers like Gaza, like Maradona, like Suarez.
Yeah.
It's kind of the pepper you put in the salad, It's tragically, but it's that way.
Okay,
Daniel.
Well, Daniel, thank you very much indeed. I've got some sympathy with the situation, even if my colleague here, Mike Graham, hasn't, and I want to see Luis Suarez return to a football field sooner rather than later. He's a very, very good footballer.
Okay, I think the same, and I wish he could continue his career in Liverpool, because he has the type of Liverpool as Maradona had for Napoli.
Yeah.
Suarez is not for Real Madrid, for example, in my opinion. He's for that a team like Liverpool.
Yeah.
All people here in Europe are a fan of Liverpool.
Okay,
Daniel,
well done.
thank you very much indeed. Daniel Supervielli, there reporting into us from Montevideo
What a bright
in
guy.
Uruguay. Very bright guy. You
Good
think
guy.
I love about South Americans is they do a very romantic approach to football. But I'm sorry, if you keep referring to somebody who's human, who keeps biting people, I'm sorry that you didn't like my analogy there, but if a dog bites somebody, it gets put down. If he bites somebody twice, he gets put down. If he bites somebody 3 times,
Dogs
forget about it.
have biting in their DNA.
Yeah.
Part of a dog's makeup is go around biting.
Yeah.
And what you have to do with the dog is you have to train it not to bite the wrong person or the wrong people or the wrong dog. Train not to bite, that's right. Because but human beings don't bite. So this is an extraordinary behaviour, and I keep saying to people, and slowly, very slowly, the establishment is coming back on my side.
Oh, really?
That he's clearly got some sort of emotional or psychological problem about sinking his teeth into other human beings for which he needs help. Gordon Taylor agrees with me on that one. A lot of people in the game agree with me. I raised it first, and and now other people are seeing
really?
the righteousness of what I'm saying.
Well, of course you'd have to claim credit for it, wouldn't you? He is, of course, Mike Porky Parry. He thinks he's found a cure for hay fever. He thinks he highlighted Luis Suarez's problem before anybody else. The man is completely delusional. I'm Mike Graham. This is Talk Sport. We'll take your calls next.
Where's Montevideo?
Montevideo?
Yeah.
I don't know. Where is that?
Well, Simon, our lad there who was doing the news, he said that he flew into Montevideo Airport.
Yeah.
Isn't it Montevideo?
It is Montevideo, yeah.
Isn't Montevideo, wouldn't that be like
That'd
a golf
be a video made by Monty.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
or something by Monty Python. Colin Montgomery video.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, don't be unkind to Simon, because he comes in every now and again.
No, he's a great lad, he's a good boy.
Why are you outing him on the air? Why don't you just have a quiet word with him and say, by the way, it's Montevideo?
Because you're
a
often...
tacitly cruel man.
No, because you so often try to pull me up on pronunciation so I get things wrong.
You do.
So before going and upsetting Simon and saying, listen, mate, you've got to start pronouncing
by telling
properly,
everybody else about it.
I thought I would ask you, well, I can't help the fact that we're in a studio and it's public and there's millions of people listening. I thought I'd ask you first and clear it with you first, because you put yourself up as the seer of pronunciation of the English language.
Well, it's not the English language, it's Uruguayan, for a start.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the English pronunciation of Montevideo.
Oh, right. How do they pronounce it in Uruguay, then?
Well, they pronounce
Maybe they pronounce it Montevideo.
No, Montevideo. Because it's Spanish, you see. It's like if you go to Portugal, they pronounce Porto, as we call it, Oporto, okay? And they
That's
pronounce...
not Spanish, though, is it?
It's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Oporto, okay?
How do they pronounce Lisbon?
Lisboa.
Yeah.
Lisboa.
How do they pronounce London?
Londra.
That's sure that's not French.
No, it's a common...
We're going to have to give you a quiz on pronunciation.
It's a common European thing. Now, the other thing I want to say to you is this: Montevideo, whichever you want to call. I'm not saying I'm right. Simon's wrong, by the way.
Well, I think he's going to be pretty unhappy with you now.
No, I don't think he'll be unhappy. He doesn't look like an unhappy boy to me. He looks like a very happy person. What I was going to say was...
See when he gets angry.
How many people do you think there are in Uruguay?
How many? Quite a small number, isn't it? It's only about
3 million.
I was going to say it's less than 5 million.
Right, 3 million.
Scotland.
So when you think of the team they've got there, and they've got the world's best player, in Luis Suarez, right? And
not anymore, they haven't.
No, not anymore. They haven't. You're absolutely right. But some of the world's really, really best players, and you think that Uruguay, and I've been to Uruguay. I went across the River Plate from Argentina to Uruguay. And
how did you get across it?
On a boat.
What sort of boat?
Well, a steamer. You know what I mean? Like a ferry.
Well, I mean, it gives me some idea of how big the
well,
river
do you
is.
think? You got a canoe and paddled it. It's the widest river in the world, the River Plate,
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
So you paint a picture. You know what we do on the radio, right, is we paint a picture with
well,
words.
I'll get on a ferry.
For example,
and you go...
if you were to compare it to the Thames down by Canary Wharf, which is a pretty wide river, right? Is it wider than that?
About 100 times wider.
Really?
It's more like a sea.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's very famous for a naval battle, the Battle of River Plate, as you well know. Yeah. In fact, in the end, I think the skipper of the ships they were chasing scuttled them, German ships, and
right. So is this like in the estuary part?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I mean, the estuary's as wide as like the Irish Sea.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That's how big it is. But anyway, the point of the story is,
what is the point of the story?
The point of the story is, I'm saying that Uruguay, 3 million people, it's a country. Now, that's the size of Greater Birmingham. Can you imagine if we decided to search for good footballers, in the Greater Birmingham area? So that's Birmingham, Coventry.
It's a great idea, actually.
Birmingham, Coventry,
Walsall.
Wolverhampton, Walsall, so the West Midlands area, there's about 3 million people there.
Yeah.
What would come up with? You'd come up with a team that basically...
Birmingham City.
Well, yes, something like that. Yeah, you would, yeah. Seriously, wouldn't you? Because most of Aston Villa's players don't come from Birmingham. In fact, most of Birmingham's players don't come from Birmingham.
No.
In fact, the only players from Birmingham who play for a West Midlands team are those who play for Walsall. So basically, Uruguay, with 3 million people, produces a team like Uruguay, and the West Midlands could only produce a team like Walsall. So what is wrong? How can you differentiate between the people of Montevideo?
It's like comparing apples and oranges.
No,
isn't
it's not. It's not. It's a group of 3 million people, and out of a group of 3 million people in South America, you get a team like Uruguay. Out of a group of 3 million people in the United Kingdom, you get a team basically better than a non-league team.
No, because you've highlighted.
Not much better.
You're saying Birmingham are a non-league team.
No, I'm saying that if they were all Birmingham-based players and have to come from the West Midlands...
But they aren't, are they? That's the point.
No, but Uruguayan people are all Uruguayan.
Yeah, of course they are. That's
and West Midlands people are all West Midlanders, but they don't all...
rubbish.
No, they don't all play for Birmingham. They don't play, if they played for Birmingham, Birmingham would be a non-league team.
As far as I know, Birmingham hasn't seceded from the Union at this point. Let's talk to Mike, who's a Man United fan up in Glasgow. Hello, Mike. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hi.
You can't shut this guy up at times,
Yeah. Hello, mate. Yeah, go on.
How you doing? You okay, guys?
Very well indeed, thank you. Good to hear from you.
It was just, I was just listening to the show there, the guy that was on there from Uruguay. Just puzzled me a wee bit, you know, he's going on about how it was a mistake and it was the heat of the moment. This is 3 times the guy's done this. If someone done it once, that's bad enough. And as you said, if a dog was to bite somebody 3 times, it would be put down.
Yeah.
What would happen if I walked out of my house tomorrow morning and bit someone in the street? I'd be arrested. I'd be put in jail for assault. Do you know what I mean?
Funny enough, we've got a text from somebody who says that he got bitten by somebody in the street, and the guy got 15 months in prison.
Well, I just don't get why people just there's people saying that the punishment is too harsh and that Suarez needs help. And I do agree that he does need help, and I'm not disagreeing that he's a great striker, but I wouldn't put him in the same class as Messi or Ronaldo. I think he's a great striker, but I wouldn't put them in.
And also, surely, Mike, he's fatally flawed, isn't he? Because, I mean, this is a guy who could have had the world at his feet, and I think he's now scuppered his career. I don't believe that he will recover from this in the way that others do.
I totally agree, and as a lot of Liverpool fans would say, it's a Man United fan saying this. If he was at Man United, I'd be saying the same thing, get rid now. Well, you can if any teams are still interested.
Just let me interrupt there. Similarly, if you went out into the street and approached somebody walking the other way and lifted your foot and smashed them in the shin and broke their leg, you would also go to jail. Similarly, if you decided to go down to your local bus stop and stand next to a woman who's waiting for her bus, and all of a sudden you lifted your elbow and smashed her in the face and broke her jawbone or her cheekbone, you would go to jail. So, differentiating between that and biting, which is a less serious physical assault, although it's not a nice one, the only reason we're actually focusing on it is because it's not human behaviour.
No, and I totally agree. Like, don't get me wrong, if someone was to elbow someone in this World Cup and break their cheekbone, I'd expect, a similar punishment. I wouldn't expect it to be, well, it's different because it's not Suarez or something like that. But I think the fact that Suarez has now done this 3 times, and let's not forget that he was charged with racial assault or racial abuse towards Patrice Evra as well. Yeah. And I just think the guy is a bit, he's obviously got something wrong.
He's a bit of a loose cannon is the problem, Mike. And that's the bottom
just before
line.
You go, Mike, just to point this out to you, after this ban, he will have missed 43 games during his time at Liverpool. That's a whole season of games.
Yeah, I know. And some people say, amazingly, that that's all without having actually ever received a red card.
Exactly, yeah.
Extraordinary stuff. Yeah. Mike, we've got to go. We've got loads to do. 08717 22 3344. Coming up next, we'll take more of your calls, and we'll talk to Adrian Durham, who's out in Brazil for TalkSport.
The 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil on TalkSport with Budweiser, inspiring fans around the world to rise as one.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're having a very, very lively discussion about Luis Suarez, as you might expect right here. We've just talked to a journalist over in Uruguay. It looks as though Luis Suarez is going to be greeted as a bit of a returning hero, a returning soldier, as our journalist now, Daniel Supervielli, said, which I find absolutely extraordinary. Let's talk to a man now who I'm sure will have some very interesting thoughts on the whole matter, and it is our very own Adrian Durham from Drive Time, who's out in Brazil right now. Adrian, very good morning to you.
All right, Mike, how you doing?
Very well indeed.
Very well, mate.
Very well indeed. Now, I was scouring your Twitter feed a bit earlier to see what you'd been saying about Luis Suarez. I couldn't actually find anything.
Always worrying.
Couldn't find anything.
Yeah. Well, I do a diary on the website, and I wrote about it extensively on there yesterday. So I have got an opinion on it. Do you want it?
I do.
Well, which part of it do you want? He obviously has done wrong. He needs punishing severely, and I'm pretty comfortable with the punishment that's been dished out. But he needs help as well, and I'm a bit concerned that neither the Uruguayan FA, Liverpool, or FIFA have actually talked about helping him out, because there's no doubt whatsoever he does need help with something that keeps recurring.
I totally agree with you on that one, Adrian, because if you can't stop doing something which you know is going to cause you an awful amount of grief, never mind the grief you're inflicting on your victim, for biting them, which is more emotionally horrible, really, than physically horrible. But if you know that every time you do it, you're going to be knocked out for 10, 12, 14 games, 43 games in total now he'll have missed just for going around biting people and for racial abuse, then surely, you're quite right, there's something wrong in your head which needs addressing, because if you can't stop doing it, you need help.
Well, I've been listening to you two, and Mike Parry, I agree with most of what you've said, and let me give you a scientific analysis. I've studied behavioural patterns in the past, and this is what I came up with after Luis Suarez did what he did for the third time. Biting occurs because if you're in a grandiose state, which he is, he's just scored 2 goals to win the game against England, gone into the next game, so he's feeling like he's king of the world, okay?
Yeah.
So he's in that huge ego-driven state, which he loves being in, which most footballers love being in, but he's right in the mix of that. He then gets out of control, feels a bit threatened because Uruguay might be going out of the World Cup. At that point when he bit Chile and they're going out of the World Cup, so he feels threatened. The inner rage he feels at being threatened can't be channeled in a normal way in his head. So he goes back to learnt behaviour, and presumably somewhere in his past there is something about biting that has gone on as a child, and he sees it as his instinct, he sees it as his right to bite somebody because he's in a godlike status. That is, I mean, if you want the jargon and all the psychology of it, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, well, I spoke to a psychologist yesterday about this, and I mean, he didn't come up with anything as innovative as that. That's brilliant. But that means the guy literally shouldn't be playing football, doesn't it?
Well, what he needs is treatment, serious treatment. I mean, not just talking to a psychologist at Liverpool. I mean, some of the football, some of the tweets I've been getting, for example, have been, Liverpool have sorted it out. No, they clearly haven't, because he's done it again.
Yeah, exactly.
So it needs to be an intensive course. I mean, a serious course of action needs to be taken.
Definitely.
Because this is, people have likened it to bad tackles and stuff, but come on, let's get real. These things can happen in the course of a game, but biting, that's different. When you feel threatened by somebody, or you feel like things are going against you, and your only course of action is to bite somebody, that is something, as a grown-up, as an adult who's in a serious profession, representing his country in front of thousands and millions of people worldwide, that needs addressing.
Now, Age, you're very well read on this. I'm very impressed, by the way. You've obviously been, researching this at great length. Now, would you agree with me also? Because I have also researched this.
Oh, you're on a roll now. Just because Adrian's agreed with one thing that you said.
No.
Now you're on a roll.
Adrian's a very well-read man, unlike you, who just goes around, taking the odd paragraph out of the Daily Record and thinking that you're an expert on Scottish history. What I was going to say was, Aid, is that there is another element to this, and that is that, without a shadow of a doubt, within Luis Suarez, there is the genius gene, okay? Now, when you've got the genius gene...
Yeah, you think you've got it, don't you?
Yeah, when you've got the genius gene, you can be capable of extraordinary behaviour which other people can't understand. I tried to explain to Mike Graham earlier that when Van Gogh cut his ear off, that's because he had the genius gene. It's unusual behaviour, not a lot of people do it, but you do if you're genius. John Lennon used to get into plastic bags, tie them up, and say, I'm going in the bag for peace.
That's because he was stoned off his face.
No, it's because... that's because he was into baggism. He was into baggism. And nobody else understood baggism except John Lennon, because he's a genius. Now, I'm not...
Baggism is only a word because he stuck it in one of his songs.
Would you like to...
It doesn't exist.
Listen, Adrian, feel free to speak up at any point here.
Let me just finish.
Just shut up for a minute.
Hang on, just let me explain. I'm not excusing Luis Suarez for what he did, but I'm saying the genius gene is clearly part of his extraordinary behaviour.
Mike Parry, you and I both have that genius gene. We are
I'm not claiming that.
No, I'm saying that it's true. We have. I mean, that's why we've achieved what we've achieved in life. And, I don't want to sound patronising or condescending or superior or anything. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And what you have to realise is that, yes, it will, genius and success comes with various problems, and it's how you address those and how you control those. And everybody who is successful in life, whatever walk of life it is, and there's lots of people with the genius gene. I'm not saying we're necessarily special or anything, Mike Parry. Mike Graham, I don't know about, but Mike Parry.
I'd say very special.
Different.
I think what you have to do is you have to address the flaws in your character that come with the genius gene. Some of us do that. Others, like Luis Suarez, clearly don't. But he absolutely, desperately needs to.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Listen,
and
Adrian,
thank God we've recognised the genius gene.
Yeah, thank goodness I'm working with two
geniuses. So, Mike Graham, what do you want to do? Just throw him in jail or something?
Imagine how privileged... No, I just think he shouldn't be playing football. I mean, this is a guy who, as you describe him...
Well, he's been banned from football, hasn't he?
Yeah, he can't even play FIFA 14.
So he isn't playing football?
My reading... No, but
so what else do you want?
No, but he's not playing football for a while. He's going to be back playing football in November, as far as I read the...
So would you ban John Lennon
for
writing...
But that's what I said. Sorry, mate. The problem is, with all of this, the ban is right for me. I think that the punishment is correct. You know, he shouldn't be
Yeah, but
treated
it's
like
not
a
gonna be
hero
any
because he's
different
let
when
his
he comes-
country
yeah,
down.
but you
Well, what I'm
seriously
saying
think
is I'm
it's not-
disappointed. I'm disappointed that neither. I mean, Liverpool made a statement that said they won't be making a statement yet.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
Well,
I mean,
because
that's
they want to read. No,
embarrassing
that's,
for
no, it's
Liverpool.
not.
They're
no,
a
that's fair enough.
gigantic
no, hang on.
worldwide
no, but they
global
want to
football
read,
club.
no,
They
but
should do
but
better
they
than
want
that.
To, they want to read the report in its fullness, which I think is fair enough. They
Well,
don't
it's
want to
not much to
prejudge
read,
it.
is it,
Well,
or
you haven't seen the
understand?
report
Come on,
yet. But the
what
point
do
is,
they need?
hang on,
What do they need
hang on.
confirming?
Well, they want to know precisely whether they can find some legal minefield in there, which they can find
A legal loophole
in.
to get him off
Yeah,
with
exactly.
it. No, Mike
That's what
Graham,
they wanna
listen,
do.
the point I made at the start was the punishment I'm absolutely fine with, but I'm disappointed that Liverpool, Uruguay and FIFA haven't said that they need to address the problem and try to solve the problem, cure the problem that Luis Suarez
Well,
has
maybe they
got.
can't
Have we
cure
got
it.
somebody
I mean,
else
the
with
way-
us?
the
Hang
way-
on a second, boys. Hang on a second. I've got somebody else with
Oh,
us.
God, who have you got with you?
Good evening, gentlemen. Andy here, Andy Jacobs.
Andy
Andy,
Jacobs.
great to have another great mind into this debate.
Well, I
That's
think
the- that's the
brilliant.
you're only allowed in this if you're a genius, apparently, Andy.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm not a genius.
You're not.
But I tell you what I think people are missing here, and I worked this out this morning. There are football reasons for this. There are two common denominators in the Ivanovic and in this Chiellini incident, and I think you're making too much into this psychological thing. This is a guy who's desperate to win. And what he did in the Ivanovic incident and in this one, his team were losing in a desperate situation late in the game. The ball's in the penalty area. He tries something incredibly sneaky, incredibly annoying, akin to basically reaching out and grabbing your testicles, that sort of. Then the referee, it was 20 past 2 in the morning, don't worry about that.
I don't think that went out, actually, Andy. Never mind, go on.
Well, hitting him in the face, basically, you know, and basically trying to elicit a response, goading the player into hitting him. He strikes Suarez.
Andy,
Suarez
are you
goes
saying-
down.
are you
The
saying-
referee gives a penalty. Uruguay get a goal. Uruguay go through.
Andy, are you
That's
saying
why he did
Are
it.
you saying that Adrian Durham spent 2 weeks reading up on all this stuff and he shouldn't have bothered? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just
Yeah.
saying this is a football thing. This guy is desperate to win. When you watch the
No,
way he
I don't
plays,
think it is, Andy, because
Yes.
hang on a second, he keeps biting people. Now, there's other
no,
ways.
twice. The
Hang on.
twice way he did it.
Why
the-
does he
He's done it
always
3
bite
times
somebody
now.
in a blue
He's done it
shirt?
3 times. But hang on, there are
Why
other
is
ways.
he only biting people in blue shirts? That's because he plays for Liverpool. He's been taught all blue is back.
It's going to be Everton. It's going to be Everton next season.
Yeah,
he's going
exactly. Don't
I
cross
think,
against
I
Everton.
think it's a perfectly reasonable explanation as to
I think
what
the
happened.
problem is he could get a player sent off or try to get a player sent
Not
off.
sent off, get a
in
penalty.
far easier
Get
way.
a penalty.
He could do that in a far easier
No, he
way than
couldn't.
biting.
He already does that.
and risk
He does that
annoying
week.
on the ban or
He does
whatever.
that week in diving. That's what he does.
Week in,
but
week in?
Week in, week out.
All right. Okay.
Do you think,
He does it.
Andy,
Wait,
do you
does it week
I thought
in,
this
week
was a
in,
new time slot.
week in, and week in, week out.
Andy, on your theory, don't
Yes.
you think from his actions immediately after the incident, he was trying to make out that he was shouldered in the teeth by the man who sick?
Well, he was shouldered in the teeth.
He was. He was grabbing his mouth.
Have you
and
not seen the
rolling
quote from him? He
No,
said-
no,
he said
Chiellini-
Chiellini's shoulder hit his
No.
teeth.
Chiellini used to study dentistry, and he was taking an impression, and he's produced a crown for Luis
Well,
Suarez.
I mean, as
Saved
far
a
as
lot
the
of money.
Uruguay, as far as the Uruguay and FA are concerned, he did that before the game even started, and he had it already
Oh, yeah.
printed into his shirt.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
He had the false teeth in there.
And by the way, fellas, you may not have been party to a Uruguayan journalist we've just spoken to, who was absolutely marvellous, spoke brilliant English.
Daniel.
He said, Daniel, and he said he is
speaks better than we
returning.
do.
He said he is returning to Montevideo as a soldier. Yes, to Montevideo as a soldier who has been released from battle with heroic medals on his chest.
Oh yes, of course,
So-
because that's the way they look at things. They don't
Yeah.
see it the way we see it. We had a Brazilian guy on yesterday morning, and he said, "Ask Lionel Messi what he prefer. Would he prefer a broken leg or a bite on the shoulder? Would he prefer a guy that deliberately try and break his leg, give him a cruciate injury, or bite him or spit in his face?" Well, the answer's obvious, isn't it? They see it in a different way to us. They do.
He said he's got nothing to worry about because his shirt's light blue.
Well, exactly. And Andy, although you made light of my theory on the genius gene, you have to accept that extraordinary people do extraordinary things. They
Well, he's not the only.
extraordinary
He's not the
things
only
he's
extraordinary footballer. You know, he's no more extraordinary than Neymar or Messi or other people like that. He's a brilliant player, but no, I don't think it's so easy to make excuses for people.
not making
he's
excuses.
You know,
I'm trying to
he
explain.
needs help. He needs. He needs punishment. One thing I do agree with Adrian. What he's got is exactly what he
But
deserves.
football needs Luis Suarez, and if,
I
for
don't agree.
instance, hang
No,
on,
no, it doesn't.
if, for
No, he doesn't.
instance, after Van Gogh had cut his own ear off, if he'd then been banned from painting ever again,
Robin Van Gogh, you're talking about?
No, Vincent Van Gogh. If he'd have been banned from painting ever again, then we would not have...
Well, unfortunately, FIFA aren't in charge of painting, are they?
We'd not have the Van Gogh masterpieces that we have today. Okay, so you can't suddenly... when you're dealing with a genius, you can't suddenly say, for one aberration, you stop them from practising their craft.
Show me the Monet.
If you did that, there'd be no John Lennon records, there'd be no Van Gogh paintings, and
the
we
problem
would
with
all
that,
be...
Mike Parry, is that if Van Gogh cut somebody else's ear off, then you've got a massive problem, haven't you? You can't excuse a genius for that.
Suarez can bite his own shoulder.
But Adrian, you'd say that was something down to some kind of childhood trauma he'd suffered, wouldn't you?
No, but for instance,
well,
if there was
how do we know?
For instance, if there was World Painting Body in the days of Van Gogh, they might have said, well, okay, it was only your own ear this time, but next time we fear it could be somebody else's, therefore you're not painting
Can you imagine
again.
the set matter of painting?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
Set matter of painting.
Listen, I work with Van Gogh's brother, Darren. And
He's banned by the Royal Academy have given him a 5-month ban.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's never wrong.
Imagine it's
Darren Van Gogh.
If the world of music, if the world of music had said to John Lennon, right, you're not writing any more records after Baggism because you're mad, and there wouldn't be any more.
Yeah, but
John
if
Lennon
you tied
records.
somebody else up in a bag, then that would be a problem.
And you're working for MI6.
He's doing it to other people, Suarez. So
oh dear.
Yeah, but then again, they could say, well, when are you going to put somebody else in a bag, John? So I'm afraid you're out of it.
We've got about 10 seconds to talk about the football.
Yeah, who's going to win the World Cup, guys?
Argentina.
Good chance. I fancy Holland.
Okay,
for sure.
Well, Van Gogh's the flavour of the night. Thank you, guys.
Exactly.
Andy Jacobs and Adrian Durham, two geniuses. Thank goodness they managed to raise the intelligent quotient, because I'm sitting here with a complete idiot. This is TalkSport Extra Time. 08717 223344. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to a proper expert on hay fever, who will no doubt tell you that Mike Parry's idea of wearing dark glasses, even though they've got the word police on them, and dabbing lemon juice all over his face is not actually the way to go. Keep your calls coming in, though. 08717 223344. We'll keep talking about Suarez. Have a look on Twitter as well and see how ridiculous Mr. Parry looks.
Hola, amigos.
Talk Sport.
Licensed broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
Absolute brilliant goal!
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Radio that will grab you by the cojones.
Every game, every goal, every day. On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham and he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to Extra Time. The two mics are keeping you entertained throughout the night. Mind you, a bit of a couple of surprise guests there. Andy Jacobs, of course, from Hawksby and Jacobs, and Adrian Durham from TalkSport Drive joining in on the Four Genius conversation. Luis Suarez, of course, is a big subject tonight. He's become a pariah of the game, or is it a piranha? And it's all because of this moment of madness.
There's been a collision off the ball on the edge of the 6-yard area. Free kick to Italy is given. That's very interesting, isn't it? Suarez appeared to move his head towards Chiellini. Well, did he go to bite him there?
Luis Suarez is suspended for 9 matches and banned for 4 months from any football-related activity. The player Luis Suarez is prohibited from entering the confines of any stadium during the period of the ban.
He is not allowed to play FIFA 14. I don't think he's even allowed to eat Jaffa cakes with a football on them.
No,
I want to hear from
hang
you.
on, that's not right, is it?
Yeah, he's not allowed to do anything football related.
Well, that does not include playing video games, does it?
Well, it does if it's FIFA 14, presumably. He's banned from playing for FIFA.
Yeah, that's mate. It's
I
utter
bet he can't
rubbish.
play
I'm sorry,
FIFA
mate.
14.
Utter rubbish. Of course he
Do you
can.
think he likes to pick the Taputio players up and bite them?
No, and that's a ridiculous thing to say. But, I mean, to say that he's so banned from football he can't even play a video game
Well,
is
they
wrong.
can't do anything football-related.
He can't take part in the FIFA 14 World Cup tournament, for sure. But you can't ban a man from picking up an Xbox or whatever.
He can't wear a Liverpool shirt, he can't wear a Uruguay shirt, he can't watch Uruguay play, he can't train with Liverpool.
I agree, but that's all related to the professional football. But you can't... Anybody in the world can play FIFA 14, so that can't possibly... Sorry?
I bet you can't.
Well, I don't dabble in silly little computer games. I've got a more expansive mind. Yeah, I read literature or something like
Do
that.
you?
Don't stare at a screen all day and try to pretend I'm a football manager.
We'll give you a literature quiz coming up. Coming up in this hour, though, we will have an expert on hay fever coming on. He's going to be telling us whether Mike Parry's plan to dab himself with lemon juice, with a lemon juice-soaked hanky, and wear dark glasses to make sure the moonbeams don't get into his eyes is actually going to work. We'll keep taking your calls, 08717 223344. You're listening to Extra Time with Mike Graham and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out later on. And we should say as well, Mike, that we're going to be on tomorrow night as well. There's going to be another little, Two Mikes fest because the World Cup is on and everything is thrown into sort of, I don't want to say the word chaos here.
No.
But, the plans are constantly shifting and we're back tomorrow night as well.
What you mean is we're getting more expansive and we're getting deeper into the subject.
Yes.
It requires more analysis, more comment.
What's interesting, tomorrow, later today, is the first day since the World Cup started. There's no football.
Absolutely right, because, of course, the group stages have now ended, haven't they? By the way, are we going to talk about Fabio Capello?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Fabio Capello. But before we do that, let's take a call from Dennis.
Let's do that.
Who's a Liverpool fan in East London. Hello, Dennis.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, guys.
Mike.
Yeah, hi, Dennis.
First up, can I correct you there? I'm calling from Tunbridgewell in Kent, sir. I'm at Tunbridgewell in Kent.
Oh, it says East London here, so I don't know whether you've just driven down there or what.
No. I'm not in East London.
Where are you in Kent, Dennis?
I'm in Tunbridge Wells.
Tunbridge Wells, yeah. Well, somebody for some unknown reason thinks you're in Camberwell. They heard Camberwell for Tunbridge Wells.
No. Tunbridge Wells in Kent.
That's good. Now, Dennis, what you got to say about Suarez?
Well, can I first and foremost say that I enjoyed listening to the two of you guys. I wish you could stay on every night.
Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Right, now, Suarez. I remember talking to Mike a few last year, I think it was, when he wanted to go to Arsenal. After I burned off his shirt that I have his name on it, I went on to buy Raheem Sterling instead. I'm a season ticket holder. I travel all the time to Liverpool to watch the game. And this boy, how can I explain? You know, like you have a wonderful teenage daughter that you love to bit. Right? You don't want her to do bad things, and she keep going on doing bad things constantly. In the one hand, you really love her to bit. It's like everything to you. On the other hand, you don't want her to spoil your name as well. This is exactly what Suarez is. I've now come to the point, I think that, you know what, we look over the many years, we have the best striker in our club. We had all of them come and gone. I actually cried when Robbie Fowler left.
Yeah.
I cried when Fernando Torres left.
Yeah.
I'm a 43-year-old man.
Yeah.
I cried with my own tears when the two strikers left.
That's fine. So what should happen now to Suarez? What should happen, Dennis?
I think what should happen to him is, first of all, Liverpool should fine him for the rest of the time that he's going to be banned, not to pay his wages. At the same time, give this boy proper help. I think that what really happened, he probably overlapped with the fact that he was away from Liverpool for quite a while with the international beauty.
Yeah, but has he got to leave? Dennis, has he got to leave Liverpool now?
I really think that he has to go.
He has to go.
Because
right, okay.
I don't think that we can have somebody to spoil our club name like this anymore.
Well, I think
I think Dennis from Tunbridge Wells is going to have a view very similar to many Liverpool fans, you see. And you've heard Phil Thompson over the last couple of days saying he doesn't think he should wear a Liverpool shirt again. You've heard Robbie Fowler saying that
dragging it through the mud,
dragging the name of the club through the mud.
Jamie Carragher has expressed reservations.
There's a huge amount of sort of disappointment, I think you would have to say, at Anfield. And I don't blame Anfield, because what Liverpool and Brendan Rodgers made out at the end of the season when Brendan Rodgers went to the PFA dinner and said basically, we've rehabilitated him, he's a lovely man, he does a lot of great work for charity, all of that stuff. It now looks like they haven't actually done anything and it hasn't worked.
Well, he's in a different environment, remember. I mean, do you think this would have happened in the environment of the English Premier League again? The answer is no.
I'm not sure. You can't really say that.
No,
for
the
sure,
answer is no. I think it's a different environment. South America, it's back on his home beat, so to speak. It's in the pressure pot of the World Cup expectation factor. It wouldn't have happened if he was wearing a Liverpool shirt playing against Newcastle or Everton or Chelsea.
Well, I don't agree.
Of that, I'm sure.
I mean, your theory
Of
about
that,
him
I'm
only
sure.
biting people in blue is a fascinating
Well,
one. I
well,
think you're absolutely right about that. But
Well, that was a light-hearted
Well, I know, but actually,
gesture. But I mean,
sometimes-
Chelsea are in blue, Italy were in blue.
Yeah.
When
I can't remember in the...
I was going to say, in
when he was
Ajax,
playing
he
for
had an Ajax shirt on.
Well,
I
that's
can't
red and
remember.
white, isn't it?
Sorry?
He's playing in red and white for Ajax, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's the person he bites
Yes,
that
I know.
that
I
we're
can't
thinking
remember,
about.
but
I can't remember if it was a
remember.
blue shirt or not. But
it certainly would have
anyway.
been red, because they wouldn't have been playing red against red
No,
and
exactly,
white, would they?
exactly. So it was black probably, or something like that. But even that's a dark colour, so maybe
No,
he's
I
got
thought it was blue.
An affliction. You think it was blue?
Maybe he thought it was blue.
Maybe he thought it was blue. Yeah, who knows? We were talking about Fabio Capello.
Yeah, let's talk about Fabio Capello.
£6.5 million a year.
He went to Russia, supposedly to save their World Cup campaign.
Yeah.
He took them into... He was in charge of them during the Euros, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't do particularly well there, because
No.
did they not miss out on going through to the last stages because Poland got through or something?
Yeah,
in the
something
final
like that.
analysis?
And then he got them qualified into this one. But the whole point of his contract was it was supposed to take them the right way through to 2018
Yeah.
when they actually are the hosts of the
That's
World
right.
Cup. Well, I mean, at the moment they're the hosts of the
Doesn't
World
look
Cup.
very
and-
good now when
and-
they're not even in the last 16.
Well, exactly, and so therefore, and the Russians are pretty ruthless. They're ruthless people, the Russians, and if you don't do well, I mean, I think the days of ending up in Siberian salt camps is probably over.
Salt mines.
Salt mines, that's right, yeah, for men like Fabio Capello. But at £6.5 million a year, if he's got another 4 years to go, that means they've got to dish up another £25 million to a guy they've already given about £20 million to. That's an awful lot of money, Mike.
It really is.
And it's twice what any other manager in the world gets. The next highest
I
paid
know.
is Roy Hodgson at £3.5.
And we've been talking about this all week, where we've already had the Iran manager has gone, the Italian manager has gone, the
Yep.
Ivory Coast manager has gone,
Yep.
and the Japan manager, I think, is gone. I imagine there might be a bit of pressure for Fabio Capello to go,
Oh,
because he's been
there will
completely
be.
useless, isn't he? And isn't it
Yeah.
funny, because remember when Algeria was the kind of bête noire of England in South Africa, wasn't it?
was.
And
It was
suddenly
indeed.
here it was
Yeah,
again.
yeah. But I have never ever been happy with the role of Fabio Capello in the world of football outside of his own country of Italy, because frankly he made absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? Pathetic attempts to try and master the English language. When I say pathetic, when he first came, I remember talking to people at the FA and they were saying, oh, he's going to have 2 English lessons a week. In fact, I think at one stage he was supposed to be having 2 a day to get him to be able to converse in English as soon as possible. Well, how long was he at the FA? Was it 5 years?
Something like that.
And
Was he that long?
Yeah, I think it was that long, yeah. And well, think about it. Sven went after we went out in Germany.
Yeah.
And Fabio did it until post South Africa.
2006, right?
Yeah, which was 2006,
Yeah.
so post South Africa. So, I think it was 5 or 6 years. And during that time, he never mastered English. And I found that incredibly insulting to the
But the funniest
nation.
thing that I found out when I was talking to one of our Russian colleagues over
Yes.
in Moscow the other day
Yes.
was that when he does his interviews in Russia,
Yeah.
because he hasn't learned Russian either, he actually does his interviews in English.
I couldn't believe that
in
when I
Russia.
heard that. I couldn't believe that. I mean, he didn't master English here. He always insisted on speaking Italian. I used to go to lunches with Fabio Capello, and he took an interpreter with him.
Yeah.
And it was, in fact, Giovanni.
Well,
the
those
lad
kind
who
of
was
big,
the-
those big lunches, those kind of ones in a big hotel type lunches.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
not like the Zurich.
Oh, no, there'd be 12 or 14 of us at the table there, and there'd be correspondents and all that kind of stuff. But he used to take a guy called Giovanni, who was a correspondent for an Italian newspaper with
Giovanni.
him. Giovanni, that's right, yeah. And he became his sort of interpreter, and you know, it's a terribly difficult situation to put yourself in, because that might mean that old Giovanni gets away with a great story, because...
Giovanni.
Yeah, I just keep saying that.
Giovanni.
But just shut up, will you? I know the guy and you don't. And he could have been whipping off with a great story that was told in Italian, and he might have given us the interpretation.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that the man's disingenuous or deceitful.
Or
but
disingenuous, even.
Yeah, he might have told us, I don't know what's wrong with you. He might have told us something that hadn't actually been said, so you have to be a bit wary, you know?
Well, we're going to
I
have
don't
all that
speak
with
Italian.
Pochettino, aren't we? With Pochettino, I should say, with when the new season gets underway. We'll find out whether he's decided to give interviews in English for Spurs, or whether he's going to continue with his interpreter. by his side.
I would never, ever, ever employ a man to do a job in England if he didn't speak English. How do you communicate with the workers, you know? But I wonder what will happen with Fabio next, because he's got a very poor persona in my view. You never see him smile. He always looks vacant. He used to talk to the players in the England team. They used to say, you know, if they were walking down the corridor in a hotel where they were staying and they round the corner, if they ever came the other way, their eyes immediately hit the ground. They did not want to make eye contact with this giant of a man, this giant of a football coach, this you know, rigid disciplinarian.
Yeah.
But he's no good. He didn't do anything for us.
He's certainly been oversold, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But I just suppose he needs to work again. But we've got to take some time out here. We've got loads more calls to take. 08717 223344. Lots of people saying about your picture, by the way, which is out there on Twitter.
Yeah.
You look a bit like Bono after about 2 months on the drink binge.
Well,
another man says you look a bit homeless. Like a homeless guy.
Unlike Bono, I don't, for the sake of trying to make myself look like a man of the people, I don't tie all my clothes to the back of a car and drive around Dublin to get the... No, seriously. I read once that he ties a lot of his clothes to the back of a car and drives around Dublin just to get them sort of, you know, a bit scoured up and all that kind of stuff.
What?
Well, no, I mean, it's something I read about him, which I find very difficult to believe. I'm sure he doesn't do that, but...
No, I'm sure he doesn't either.
That's what was alleged in this piece I read.
Yeah, I don't know what you were reading.
I don't know why you do that, because if you wanted to look like a man of the people, then presumably there's other ways of making your clothes look a bit
you could just take a picture of you and model himself on that. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up.
Football's finest will fight it out to lift the 2014 FIFA World Cup, Brazil.
On TalkSport.
TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. Together we are the two mics, of course. A lot of people very appreciative of that conversation we had with Adrian Durham and Andy Jacobs beforehand.
Well, good to have the boys on.
None of them have recognised that you're, of course, a genius anywhere along there. But we have just discovered, thanks to somebody who's sent in a message on social media, that PSV Eindhoven was the team that Luis Suarez bit last time, time out. And they normally play in blue and white.
That's right.
So your theory, actually, is becoming eerily close to the truth.
Absolutely. That night, they were wearing black when his first biting incident. They normally wear blue and white. Chelsea, of course, wear blue and white. Yeah. Italy, blue, and Italy wear blue. And so I think
they're called the Azzurri, aren't they?
They are.
For that very reason.
They're called the Blues, and the Azzurri. And the the consequence of all that is that Liverpool's main opponents in England are Everton, who play in blue. So whether or not he's got a fixation about all blue is bad and all red is good, I don't know.
Very worrying.
Very
and there's a great one here, a great tweet here from Duncan Barks, formerly of this parish, who's listening and says that that picture of you makes you look like Ray Charles without the piano, which I think is very good indeed. Let's talk to Nelson, who's an Arsenal fan in London. Hi, Nelson.
Hi, Mike.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Not at all. What would you like to say?
I love listening to the two of you, especially my Parry. He's my bed. But tonight, listen, Mike. Tonight, I think my Parry is living on Clark Cookland.
Yeah, exactly.
He and Jason Candy.
Yeah.
I just can't understand why they are comparing biting to common injury on the football pitch. How many times have we seen somebody beating someone on the pitch before? No, it's only this particular player who has done it 3 good times. So he deserves the punishment he's got from FIFA. I believe he's got the right punishment.
Yeah, but hang on, Nelson. There was a lot of talk last summer that Luis Suarez could very well now be an Arsenal player. Would you feel the same?
As of now, I'm happy he never came to Arsenal.
Yeah?
Seriously, I'm very, very happy.
Come on. He's probably the best player in the world at the moment. You've got to have the best player in the world in your team.
I don't dispute it. He's the best player. He's not the best player in the world. He's among the best players in the world. But frankly speaking, with his behavior, I prefer to have a different player than him.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Okay, well, you must
I think you're absolutely right, Nelson, because I don't think you can now tell what is going to happen next with Luis Suarez. If Adrian Durham's right, and he's got this kind of... he's incapable of preventing this from happening again, what's he going to do next?
Exactly. What is he going to do next? So the next time, let's say he comes back to Liverpool, the next time Liverpool are losing a match, he turn around and he bites somebody again. He will do it. The man will do it again. Unless he gets the right treatment. If he doesn't get the right treatment, Luis Suarez will do it again.
Well, I think Adrian hit the nail on the head when he said instead of this time just, going to see a couple of psychologists for half an hour each time, he's got to actually put his time in and he's got to study how to rid himself of this curse of biting people on a daily basis, of reading what's wrong with himself, self-curing, and looking for the right help from the right medical professionals.
As Ali,
Don't be
he
trite.
has to decide what is wrong with him before he can get the right treatment. But
Yeah.
I think, you know what, tonight, I think maybe my parry, the lemon juice is not good for you.
No, it is. It's very good for me, mate. Stops me getting hay fever. If you suffered...
No, because listen, when you are on, I always keep my radio on. But tonight, I tell you, no way.
He's gone mad, yeah. You're quite right, Nelson. Very,
Okay.
very
Nelson,
perspicacious.
thank you very much indeed.
Very, very perspicacious young man. How about this from our good friend Derek from Pencoed?
Pencoed.
Liverpool fan for 43 years,
Yeah.
right? He says, Borda, he says to you, first of all. You know what that means, don't you?
Yeah, welcome.
It means it's Welsh for good morning, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I know that, yeah.
It's not welcome, then.
Of course
he
it
says,
is.
He says Suarez's punishment was right. Banned from the World Cup and playing for his country, but I don't think it's fair that Liverpool should have been punished as well, which we have. But we managed without him when he was banned last season, and if any club wants him, they are welcome. But, of course, Barcelona now are trying to knock 20 million off the price, and
Well,
one of the
bounty.
papers has got the £20 million bite. Because
Yeah.
that's what it's going to cost Liverpool
Of course
now if
it
they
is.
sell him.
Of course
50
it is.
million instead of 70 million.
Of course it is. I totally agree with you. And there's two ways of looking at that. Firstly, Liverpool are the innocent victims in this. But secondly...
Well, they're not, no. I don't agree with you
You're
there.
right. You know, they were warned that, you
Yeah.
know, this is the sort of thing the boy does. When he did it last time, they decided to stick with him. They could have made the decision then. Because, do you know what? I saw some expert on BBC television this morning. Don't mind mentioning the BBC.
We're a bit late now.
Well, you know, in television terms, because we're a radio station,
Yeah,
of course.
we
you know.
are,
We're much
of
better
course.
as a radio station,
Yeah,
obviously,
we
than
are.
they are.
This wouldn't be so good on television.
No, exactly.
Especially you with your lemon hanky.
No. But no, this guy actually said, he said, look, and this guy was a psychotherapist, and he said, you had me on interviewing me last time this happened, and he was punished, and I said to you, and then they showed the clip from, you know, like a couple of years ago, this man will bite again.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's...
He was on TalkSport yesterday as well, actually. In
Was
fact,
he?
TalkSport had him on yesterday.
Yeah, he said it's a psychological condition which you can't get rid of just by telling the guy to behave
Well,
himself.
that's the point. I mean, the trouble is, as well, if they do try and sort of, you know, somehow manage the condition, it's entirely possible that, as you well know, that it'll do something else in a different way. You know, that whatever causes him to do this will be channeled into another situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like when you press a bag of eels in one direction and they come out the other side.
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You look very mystified.
I
by
am
that.
mystified.
Are you all right with your mouth, by the way? Your mouth is looking a bit
Well,
strange.
that's my broken tooth.
You broke another tooth?
Well, I broke a tooth. I mean, I don't go around breaking them on a regular basis.
Would you bite somebody?
No. I bit a piece of naan bread. I was at one of those
naan bread
curry club lunches. You know, you get these fantastic English pubs in Surrey, but they have a little annex which is like a Thai restaurant type place. You know what I mean?
No,
yes, you do. Yeah. They're all over Surrey, and I went in
I
there.
don't live in Surrey.
Sorry?
I don't live in Surrey.
Well, I don't people like you in Surrey, frankly. And I was in there in the curry club, and not joking, this is lovely chicken curry, the old tikka masala, or whatever it's called.
Was this in a Thai restaurant?
Well, it was a Thai restaurant attached to an English pub, you know. And
Why were they selling you Indian food?
Because it's a Thai restaurant.
Well, that's Thai food.
Well, okay, it was sort of Thai food then, you know, but you know what I mean.
Was it chicken tikka masala or not?
Well, I thought it was, yeah, I think it was.
You thought
yeah.
it was? You sure you hadn't taken any drink at this point?
No. But anyway,
So you're in a restaurant that you think is Indian, you've ordered a chicken tikka masala, and it turns out to be a Thai restaurant.
No, it's definitely a Thai restaurant. I'm sure the chicken tikka masala on the menu. I think it's a multicultural restaurant, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think so,
Oh,
yeah.
good, yeah.
You know,
Sounds
sort of did a range of
check the
foods.
receipts, see what you had.
Anyway, look, the point of the story is,
What is the point of the
I
story?
bit into the naan bread.
Which is very soft bread normally.
Yeah, I love naan bread, yeah. And as I did, excruciating pain in my mouth. It felt like somebody had stabbed me in the gum. And then I, slowly took the bread out of my mouth, and I felt into my mouth because I had to, because there was damage there.
Yeah.
And one of my teeth on, hang on, which level is it? On the lower level.
How many levels of teeth have you got?
Well, you got
You're
upper
a werewolf or something.
No. No, you got an upper level and a lower level, haven't you?
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, so it's not that hard to figure out which level.
Well, it was, because, I was
It's a
confused.
problem.
No, I was confused with pain. I was paralysed with pain. And,
Do you mind if I take Rainbow George in the middle
well, hang
of
on,
this story?
I reached into my mouth, and one of my teeth on my lower level was, in fact, two teeth. It had split. And,
Was it one behind the other?
No.
Like Piltdown Man. Let's talk to Rainbow
Yeah,
George.
let's do that.
George, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I was going to come to you
Mr.
sooner,
Harris.
but you started on this multicultural restaurant shtick, which,
Yeah.
I haven't got to the bottom of.
Yeah, ignore him, George, ignore him. What you going to say, pal?
My sympathies are with Luis Suarez.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sympathies with me from a broken tooth.
My sympathies are with you for your broken tooth, but teeth are problems. We should all get rid of our teeth, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially Luis Suarez. I really think he should have been given the choice of a ban or have his teeth out. And,
well, I mean, that's a bit severe, isn't it?
No, I think he would agree to have his teeth out.
Well, maybe just take the front teeth out, because then he could do that. Like who was that player that used to take his front teeth out when he was playing football?
Nobby Stiles.
Nobby Stiles. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but he obviously can't control what's happening. He obviously feels shocked at what he did, and I think to ban him from the tournament was enough of a punishment. I really do. I don't. He didn't do it intentionally.
Do you think he should say sorry, George?
Yeah, because he hasn't said sorry yet, has he?
No.
I'm sure he will. He is sorry. Obviously, he's sorry.
I'm not sure he is.
He's sorry he's out of the World Cup. I don't think he's sorry for what he did.
Oh, I think he is.
Well, hang on. We spoke to the guy from Uruguay, a very capable journalist who spoke good English. He said, well, he's a wounded soldier now coming home from battle. That's the sort of attitude they seem to have about this in Uruguay.
Yeah, well, I think on a mystical level, I think we're all being remotely controlled, so none of us are responsible for our
Hang on, George. What kind of a wacko are you? You think there are aliens controlling us?
I'm convinced that we're all being directed to do exactly what we're doing.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, we've got a producer that tells us what to do. I don't know about you, George, but thank you very much indeed for your call. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. Sometimes George can, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but he thinks it's like people floating around in the ether directing the...
Well, you think aliens started crop circles, don't you?
I didn't say that.
Yes,
I said one or two of the first ones could have been unexplained, incidents.
You
all
said
that.
It was aliens.
And then people started mimicking and copying them. I didn't say it was aliens at all. I have no evidence that aliens exist. I'm saying it could have been a strange phenomenon, like, for instance, a typhoon wind or something like that. That's what I said.
Typhoon wind?
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Where would that have come from then?
Well,
Typhoon land.
Well, you know where the first ones happened, in the Vale of Pewsey. Have you ever been there?
I used to live there.
It's a valley surrounded by very high hills,
I used to
right?
live there.
And it could just be that was a land-based typhoon that hit the crops or something like that. I'm convinced of it.
Do you mean a tornado?
Yeah, tornado, typhoon. What's the difference?
Well, there's quite a big difference. But
one happens over water, I suppose, but it can always move inland.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
It's nothing to do with
Typhoon happens over water.
that. Typhoon happens anywhere.
No, it doesn't. Well, why did you correct me then and say tornado?
Because a tornado is a funnel-shaped storm.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah, but a tornado is more aggressive in its movement than typhoon. A typhoon comes directly from the heavens down to the ground.
And where do you think a tornado comes from?
A tornado sweeps across the ground.
So it doesn't go up into the, as you call them, the heavens?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Right.
But in a different way.
Yeah, all right. Well, never mind that. We're going to talk to a hay fever expert coming up next. So get your hanky at the ready, get your lemon juice out, get the dark glasses on. Mike Parry's theory is going to be tested to the ultimate right here on Talk Sport. You don't know who this is?
No. Why should I?
One of your favourite bands. We were talking about them only the other week.
No, rubbish.
The Kinks.
That's not the Kinks.
It is the Kinks.
No, it's not. That's rubbish. That's not one of the Kinks' greatest hits.
Well, it's not one of their greatest hits.
No, well, in that case, it's not worth playing then, is it?
What, so you only have collections of people's greatest hits?
Well, largely, yeah, largely.
Well, you're not going to do very well on the quiz later, are you?
Why do you think I would go out and buy every Kinks LP that was ever made? Because lots of them were just
because if you just buy the greatest hits, you're missing out on the whole body of work. It's just like saying all you're going to buy is the Beatles' greatest hits.
Well,
this is why you didn't know Long and Winding Road was on Let It Be.
I knew it was
never
not
owned
on Let It Be, because it wasn't on Let It Be initially. It wasn't. It wasn't on the first release of Let It Be. It was on McCartney, the album that
saying,
McCartney
why would you
produced.
bother buying, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band?
Well, the difference is that every Beatles record was brilliant, right? But the trouble with a lot of bands is, like the Stones, for instance, produced an awful lot of rubbish in their later years.
Did you get any of their albums?
Yeah, I've got their greatest hits. Well, why else?
Of course you have.
Well, why else would you buy a Stones record?
Well, because Sticky Fingers is a wonderful album. Exile on Main Street is a fantastic
record.
record.
I agree, and most of the best tracks off there go on to their greatest hits,
No, they don't.
What do you think of Undercover of the Night?
Undercover of the Night, rubbish.
Oh, it's a brilliant record.
Awful.
But that came out in the early 80s when we were in New York, okay? And the video was like a groundbreaking video, wasn't it? With
it was an awful Rolling Stones song.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant.
Anyway, we'll talk about music later.
Yeah,
It is Glastonbury weekend, of course, and we have a quiz which is being put together even as we speak, so that Mr. Parry's musical knowledge can be properly
But I don't know
tested.
anything about the bands that go to Glastonbury because they're far too recent for me.
Well, don't worry.
And I think the music's rubbish, and I just don't get the
Well,
idea.
the Rolling Stones were at Glastonbury last year, weren't they?
Yeah, but the Rolling Stones were at their peak in the, 30 years ago, right? When
they're still headline Glastonbury.
Well, I don't get that. I think the Rolling Stones live are awful anyway.
They're not
Absolutely
so good.
dreadful.
No, they're not so good.
Because, if you compare the Rolling Stones live to the original studio sound, I mean, it's like listening to a different band. It's like the Stones today, to me, sound like a tribute band to the real Rolling Stones of 30 years ago. I think they're absolute rubbish, honestly. I really
They
do.
were always rubbish, though, don't worry.
Well,
they were never
live.
really good live. Yeah, they were never
I
really
saw
good
them live once at Wembley a few years ago, and the old Wembley Stadium, I mean, and I just couldn't believe that it was the same band that had produced things like, Paint It Black, 19th Nervous Breakdown, Satisfaction, Let's Spend the Night Together. I just couldn't believe it was the same group. I just thought imposters had suddenly wandered in off the stage, and Mick Jagger had paid some guy to jump up and down, look like a rubber band on stage instead of him.
Right.
Seriously.
Well, I've plenty of time to explore your musical knowledge.
Yeah.
Right now, we're being very rude because Dr. Paul Keith is on the line, right? Now, this is a guy who's an expert in allergy. He's
Excellent.
from Hamilton.
Excellent.
The McMaster University. Do you have any idea where Hamilton is?
Hamilton in Canada.
That's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Ontario, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's Associate Professor, Division of Clinical Immunology and Allergy
Right.
in the Department of Medicine at McMaster University. And let's say a very warm welcome to Dr. Keith. Dr. Keith, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Thank you.
Terribly sorry to have kept you waiting there with all
Sorry
that
about
nonsense about the Rolling Stones. One of the reasons we wanted to get you on is that here in the UK at the moment we're suffering from incredibly high pollen counts, and people who suffer from hay fever are suffering very badly, but also a lot of people who've never suffered from hay fever, including my co-presenter here, Mr. Mike Parry, are suddenly getting it, and he referred to it the other day as middle-aged hay fever. First of all, I wanted to ask you if that can exist.
Yeah, you can develop it at any age.
Really?
Yeah.
Including middle age, of course.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, more common in women, but occurs in men as well.
Is there a hormonal sort of aspect to it?
Yeah, worse. There's a hormonal aspect. Worse in men before the age of 5, of course, tend to grow out of it, but can develop hay fever at any age. And then women after puberty, after age 12, tend to develop more allergy problems.
What about a man in sort of nearing 60? It's unusual, isn't it, to get it at that sort of age?
Any age, though.
Okay, so what triggers it then, Doc? I mean, when you say any age, can you suddenly just be unlucky, and does the hay fever gene suddenly explode in your body or something?
It could be a number of different reasons. You may have always had allergies in the past, and then something about this exposure this year, or something with it, like exposure to diesel exhaust particles, exposure to environmental tobacco smoke. Something may have triggered in you this year that had a greater effect.
Okay. Now, Doc, people laugh at me and say you can't control the symptoms of hay fever because it's all related to pollen and the pollen count. And in this country, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but every time we have a weather forecast, on the hour, on the news and all this, they say, and the pollen count today is this. Now, I believe sincerely, certainly in my case, that the amount of sunlight that goes into my eyes affects my hay fever problem. So I walk around in this sort of weather when it's bright and sunshiny in dark glasses, and I feel it helps me enormously to ward off the more irritating symptoms of hay fever, like very, very scratchy eyes and sneezing all the time and tickling the back of my throat. Does that make any sense?
It will help to some extent, but a lot of the eye symptoms is what you're inhaling through your nose. It will help to some extent, but if you have a high pollen count that day, most of your eye symptoms will be from what you're inhaling through your nose.
Some people seem to be allergic to different kinds of pollen as well. There's grass pollen. Some people don't like it when you mow the lawn, or other people at certain times of the year when the flowers are kind of more in bloom than they are now, for example.
Yeah, but if it's all through,
I'm not asking you. I'm asking the doctor.
But I'm trying to put to the doctor a relevant point, not a silly point about different bits of pollen.
I'm trying to get some information for our listeners.
Excuse me. Yes, so am I. To follow on from the doctor's last point, Doc, if it's all through the nose, why then hasn't somebody invented the hay fever gas mask, which no, I'm serious.
I'm sorry, Doctor. He gets
There
a
are
bit carried away.
No, there are little small filters you can stick in your nose.
Right.
But not very appealing to wear.
Well, that doesn't matter, does it? I mean, if it's appealing or not, if it's going to release you from the, debilitating symptoms and conditions of hay fever, I wouldn't mind walking around with the equivalent of a gas mask on my face in order to.
A lot of people would appreciate if you did that as well.
Oh, would they really?
But actually, I've got a serious question for you, because you know how you've got it this year for the first time.
Yeah.
He's got a new car, which I think it takes diesel. I just wonder if your old car was a petrol car.
No, it was diesel.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was
so
diesel.
there goes my theory then.
Yeah, exactly. Your theory's complete bunkum, as usual. Doc, will there ever be a cure for hay fever? We spend, literally hundreds of millions of pounds.
I thought you found one.
Well, I found a way to relieve my symptoms.
Why don't you explain to the doctor what you've been doing?
I've explained to the doctor. I rub lemon juice around my nose and around my eyes, and I wear dark glasses all the time, including at night, because I believe that the light that comes from the moon, Doctor, is in fact reflected sunlight, isn't it? So I'm as well to wear dark glasses at night as well as during the day.
Well, I don't know. Has it worked for you? That's the main question.
Yeah, exactly. Will there ever be a cure for hay fever? We spend hundreds of millions of pounds on research for heart and cancer problems, quite rightly. Are we paying enough attention to trying to rid society of this debilitating complaint, hay fever?
Well, it's interesting. It's definitely on the rise. There's a number of different factors for why allergies are on the rise. We seem to be programmed more to respond in an allergic way. So from 20 or 30 years ago, we have a much higher rate of allergies than we did, and that's a number of different factors. But as for a cure, I mean, we have better ways to desensitize people once they become allergic. And we used to have just shots, and now we have sublingual immunotherapy tablets you can put under your tongue to reduce your symptoms and turn off the allergic mechanism.
We actually had a tweet from one of our listeners earlier on before the show started. Paul, who used to live in the UK, has now moved to Australia, and he said he had terrible hay fever in the UK, but has now been living in Brisbane for 6 years, and now doesn't have any of it at all. And what I've noticed with some of my kids that have hay fever is when we take them to the coast and take them to the beach, they don't have it there, which I suppose is obvious, but that clearly the atmosphere at the seaside is better for them.
It may be. I mean, it may be an effect of pollution plus allergen.
Yeah, it could be indeed.
I mean, the other thing that's high right now is mold spores as well in the summer when it's damp, and also you have to look
mold
at mold spores are high in the summer.
What are they exactly?
It's another allergen like Alternaria.
Yeah, where do they come from though?
Molds.
Well, molds are out when you get a damp day. If you're really bad on a hot, dry day, then it's more likely grass pollen.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah,
That's mould, he's saying, not molds. I think you said
mould.
Mould, yeah, not mould.
Like mouldy.
Yeah, like mouldy old bread.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Well, listen,
okay.
Dr. Keith,
Doc, thanks ever so much.
It's been very, very kind of you to take the time to talk to us. From what you're saying about Mike Parry's theory and his practice, I guess from your point of view, if it works for him, then it's all right.
If it works for you, that would be great.
Excellent. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for endorsing the fact that I have found a way to relieve the symptoms of hay fever. That should put the numpty Mike Graham and his ridiculous attempt to smear me and sneer at me to bed once and for all.
Here's one from James in Harlow, who's texted into 81089. He says, Porky is a buffoon, full of hot air, spouting useless gas.
Well, hang on.
Maybe you need a gas mask to keep the useless gas in.
Right. If you have protruding teeth, and I'm not in any way now referring to Louis Suarez, who has got protruding teeth, but kids who have protruding teeth wear a brace, okay? Yeah. Children who are short-sighted wear national health glasses, right?
Sometimes.
Why, if you've got hay fever, shouldn't you wear a hay fever mask, a gas mask in effect? Because our doctor expert has just said if you put filters into your nostrils, that would help enormously.
Yeah, but it's different from having a brace.
That would help enormously with hay fever.
I mean, wearing a brace or wearing glasses is slightly less obtrusive than wearing a mask.
Well, it wouldn't bother me if people laughed at me because I had a gas mask on, as long as I was being spared the debilitating symptoms of hay fever.
I'll tell you what I saw the other day, which always irritates me, and I don't wish to
in any way
saw something.
A trained observer, eh?
Yeah, that's me,
yeah. What did you see?
I used to be a reporter. I used to actually go and do stories.
Many
Unlike
years
you,
ago.
you used to go to a hotel nearby where the story was and make it up and just send it over.
How dare you say that?
That's what you used to do.
Like when?
Don't make me tell stories.
When and where would I have done that?
Don't make me tell those stories.
When and where would I have done that?
I've told you before, we're never going to talk about that last interview with Nureyev. Rudolf Rudolf Nureyev.
I was in Nureyev's bedroom when he was dying.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
Anyway, listen, we don't want to go there.
I was alongside him.
No, you weren't.
I was.
How'd you get into his bedroom?
I walked into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
So he
walked
was
round
just
the
there.
back of his villa, and I thought, I wonder what's going on here. Went up the steps, walked in, and there was
he
one of the world's
lying
great...
there dying.
He was.
And
was
he
lying
went,
there
oh,
dying.
Mike, I'm so glad you turned up.
No.
I'm now going to spill my guts to you and tell you my last ever thoughts in my last ever interview.
He wasn't actually very conscious, to be honest, and the nurses
So
had
what
just
did he
gone out
say
the
then?
room. He didn't say anything.
So
did
how'd
he?
you get a 3-part series out of it then?
I didn't get a 3-part series out of it. What I was doing was I was describing Nureyev's last days, and I happened to be at his bedside
There's a lot of quotes in
when he
there.
virtually died. So
Yeah.
I mean, that that was an historic moment. That was worth writing about.
Yeah,
But
right.
you never got close to any, living legend in his final hours.
I did actually. But
Oh,
that's
yeah,
another
who?
story.
Who?
Well, we're not talking about that.
Come
Why don't
on,
you let me
who?
tell the story.
No, come on, who?
Well, I mean, if you want me to bring in my photograph of myself with Bill Clinton, you want me to bring in my photograph
Bill
of
Clinton's
myself
still living.
with...
Or he was when I last looked.
Yeah, so
yeah.
he's still a
I
legend.
said, did you get close to a living legend in his last hours?
Yeah, I think I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Who was it?
I'll have to think about it.
Oh, think
I've
about
interviewed
it.
so many people
Oh,
who
yeah.
have died.
Yeah, he's just going to think about making something up, folks, yeah. Anyway,
No, I'll just bring
so
the
what were you
cuttings.
rambling on before
I
this?
was going to say, when I was on the Underground the other day, and this Japanese woman got on, she was wearing a mask, because you know how in
Yeah, they
Japan,
do that in
everybody wears
Tokyo.
masks,
Yeah.
And it was slightly puzzles me, because, I mean, we were told, remember when there was this supposed epidemic of SARS or bird flu or something coming over, that if you wear just one of those ordinary kind of hospital masks, it's actually worse
Useless,
for you,
yeah.
because the germs all get trapped in the mask.
Contains
and
it in
you
the
actually,
mask.
Yeah,
That's right,
You
yeah.
actually get more
Yeah,
ill.
yeah.
Anyway, that was just an aside.
Yeah.
We can talk about some more other things later. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. We'll take loads more of your calls. 08717 22 3344. We'll be back after this.
Team TalkSport are the boys from Brazil.
Drink triple, sit double, act single. Come on, you lads!
The 2014 FIFA World Cup, Brazil.
On TalkSport.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. He's now put some ridiculous contraption over his nose because he thinks that that's somehow going to stop the hay fever pollen from coming in.
Only after talking to, you accused me of going down my own route and inventing my own cure for hay fever. And I said, it's not a cure, it's to try and alleviate my symptoms. We then get an acknowledged expert on from Canada on hay fever. He tells me
Yeah,
that...
but he basically said it's a placebo what you're doing. If you think it works, it works.
Right, so he endorsed my my own methods to try and help me relieve my symptoms. He then goes on to say that actually the best way to do it is put filters in your nose. I haven't got a filter, but he said a mask on your nose would help. So you can't blame me then for deciding to try and alleviate my symptoms further by taking the advice of one of the world's top experts on hay fever, which is what I've done. I put the mask on, I feel immeasurably better, and if anyone wants to see what it looks like, then
I've just sent out a picture because it looks so ridiculous.
No.
I'll tell you what he looked like. You remember that, what was that movie that Yul Brynner was in where he had the sort of the metal nose? It was a Western, funnily enough, wasn't
I don't know.
I think it was Yul Brynner.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that
It was a
at all.
Western and he wore
But the point
like
is,
a metal nose.
I don't mind you doing that because my mission is always to try and help others who are less fortunate than me and who can't think for themselves in how to relieve their symptoms for hay fever. I'd like to think for them, and that is a step forward. And I don't mind if you think you're publicly humiliating me, because you're not. You're publicly humiliating yourself
Really?
for thinking you're humiliating
you
me.
obviously didn't hear Dr. Paul Keith chuckling in the background when I was asking him about your method.
He wasn't
because,
chuckling.
Clearly, he doesn't think it's in any way scientific.
I thought that was a gurgle of appreciation, to be honest.
Yeah, here's one from David in Essex, who sent this in at, not at TS Extra Time, but you can do that, of course. At Mike Parry 8 is the other place you can send it, or at IROMG. Here's one from David in Essex. He says, Mike, I have a cure for Porky's hay fever. You just stick 2 of those saltpeter candles he's been sniffing up his nose.
Saltpeter candles?
Yeah.
Well, no, they're for a different reason.
Are they?
They're there to get the atmospherics right in the house when other things are going on. But I don't know anything
You're
about
still
sticking
using
up
those, are you?
Well, of course I use
You still like the candles. Well, maybe
Of
you're
course I
allergic
do.
to saltpeter. Maybe that's why you've suddenly got hay fever.
No, that's nothing to do with it, mate. That's
Right,
nothing to do
Dominic
with it.
says this, Porky, keep using the lemon, but you can also smear a small amount of Vaseline in your nostrils to minimise the pollen going up your nostrils. It doesn't cure it, but
that
it
right?
helps a hell of a lot.
Is
and
that
that's a
right?
fact, he says, from an ex-soldier.
Well,
I suppose technically...
thank you very much indeed.
Technically, I suppose if you know how in those shows where they have people working in mortuaries and things and they put that stuff underneath their nose?
In mortuaries?
Yeah, because the smell is terrible in a mortuary, obviously, right? So what they do is they take this very strong smelling stuff, a bit like Vicks, and they just put a couple of little dots underneath
Is
the
that
nostrils.
right? Do they honestly?
Yeah, of course. Because they do that in order to...
Why? I mean, I don't want to get into this. It's a horrible subject, but I would have thought that bodies which are stored and frozen are actually odourless.
Well, yeah, but when they're doing autopsies on them, they're not frozen, are they?
Oh, golly. Oh, I don't want to talk about
Anyway, so the point is they put stuff...
Reminded me now of the undertakers have to pass on the way home.
Oh, yeah, of course, your major fear. Have you come out anywhere closer to conquering that, by the way? We did have an agreement, I thought, that I was going to drive you around in a hearse.
Well, we didn't, really. That was a bit of a light-hearted moment. But the thing is...
We said we would do it.
I go past this undertakers every night, Mike, on the way home or on the way near, and the lights are always on in one particular room, and they're big arc lights, so you can see the arc
fluorescent lights, you mean?
Yeah, big fluorescent arc lights, you can see them.
What do you think they're doing?
Well, I think the bodies are underneath the arc lights, and I think that
I think they're conducting autopsies on them.
Well, I don't think you conduct autopsies in funeral parlours. I think they're laid out on slabs, and I think that people are...
Maybe they're just putting makeup on them.
Well, what's the other thing they do? Embalming. They embalm in undertakers, and I think they're embalming bodies, and I think that I think you're right, I think they're dressing them up for funerals
like
the next
the Loved
day.
One.
And that sort of thing.
Have you read The Loved One?
No, what's that?
I thought you said you were a great scholar of literacy.
Well, I am, but I don't... I've read every book in the world.
Well, no, you haven't, but I mean, if you're supposed to have read some of the great books of the world, you would have read The Loved Ones by Evelyn Waugh.
And what's it about?
It's about funeral directors, and it's about... The Loved One is the name they give to the body that is brought into the funeral parlour, because they always refer to it as the loved one, in order that people don't get upset. They don't refer to it as the corpse or the dead person. They refer to it as the loved one.
Oh, I see. So
it's a great book.
So every body is the loved one, is it? Every cadaver that's brought in, is
referred to as the loved one.
But I don't look. No disrespect, because we're going to have some of our listeners who are undertakers, funeral directors. In fact, mates of mine.
Maybe we should get one of them to come in and talk to you about it.
I just don't know how you do it. I mean, look, I've got no fear of death. None whatsoever. In fact, I see death as a great adventure, the next journey in, whatever part of existence
but that's
it is.
You believe in the heavens, don't you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. But also I've read so many books lately about after-death experiences and all that kind of stuff. There's got to be something happening out there. So I'm quite curious, actually, as to what happens next, you know what I mean? It's a bag I haven't sort of been into yet, like John Lennon's Bag is in for peace. But no, my point is, nevertheless, I don't know... I can't understand how people want to work with dead bodies. That's all I don't... That's
why
I don't
they just need the job.
Well, maybe they need the job, but, we're quite a wealthy country, and if you want to be a postman or an undertaker, I bet you eventually you get a job as a postman, because there's always vacancies. You get a job as a bus driver, because every bus in this country I've ever seen has got an advert on the back permanently saying, if you want to drive this bus, ring this number.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be a bus driver than driving around in a hearse. You know what I mean? I would.
I suppose you would. But, the one thing you know about being a hearse driver is that there's always going to be business, whereas if you're a bus driver, there isn't always.
Oh, I think there is, because I don't know why, they have a very high turnover. But what I can't get about the sort of the funeral business is A, dealing with the dead bodies, but B, the formality of it all. People dressing up in pinstripe trousers and black jackets and all that kind of stuff, as though they're going out for dinner.
It's a measure of respect, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it is respect, and obviously the dead deserve all the respect that you can offer them, because they're not there to be able to defend themselves or protect themselves, and that's a good thing.
It's very worrying, this,
No, but I mean, the point is, Mike, because of the odd times we work, sometimes I'm passing this undertaker I'm talking about, and the ambulance is arriving, the private ambulance.
You told us about all this. It's like an obsession.
I know, and sometimes they're queuing up to get the bodies in.
You've got to get it out of your head.
Well, it's a bit worrying.
You're going to have to find something else. Anyway, listen, I've got Dave, the producer, has told us that the metal-nosed cowboy was Lee Marvin in Cat Ballou.
Ah, Cat Ballou.
It was one of the first westerns I ever saw, actually.
That was when Lee Marvin got on the horse the wrong way round and then tried to gallop off.
That's right.
Do you remember?
Did you see? I mean, John and I talked about this yesterday on the show. John, of course, our films guru, about Eli Wallach's sad death from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly.
Yeah, I didn't realise he was 98.
I know.
So he's 98. So I remember seeing him in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and all that. And I reckon that was in
You tweeted something rather nasty about me, actually, yesterday regarding that. Do you remember that?
What was that then?
Well, you sort of it's insinuating that I was ugly.
Oh, I did. I said Eli Wallach was one of the ugliest men in films, and that's why he got all the villains' roles in the cowboy films, in the westerns. Clearly, the producers hadn't happened upon you by that stage.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Shocking some of the stuff you come out with on Twitter.
Come on, Mike. I mean it in
don't start apologising
in jesting terms.
Don't start apologising for it. Now let's do a couple more quick texts here. Ray in Dundee has texted in. He says anybody that says they wouldn't want Suarez at their club isn't a real fan. If he played for my club, I wouldn't care less if he bit someone and then spat on the wound. That's dreadful, isn't it?
That is dreadful.
That
Who
really is.
sent that in?
Some guy in Dundee.
Okay, that's not even
Ray in
funny.
Dundee.
Not even funny. It's not clever. That actually is despicable. Then I'm trying to say that we should have more understanding for a man who bites, but nowhere in the world would I start encouraging people to go around biting and saying it doesn't matter. Shocking. Shocking comment.
Andy, I'm not sure if Andy in Dunton or Andy Dunton. He says a typhoon forms over water and a tornado forms over land.
Yeah,
not
you.
Actually true, that. No,
Told
it's
you.
not true, because tornadoes can form over water as well. And a typhoon generally is a much bigger storm system. I think that's basically what it is.
I don't think you know what you're talking about and you've been found out. Thank you very much indeed to that particular messenger.
Paul from Raynham says, can you guys explain what would happen if Suarez had been banned for life? Would Liverpool receive any sort of compensation or insurance payout? Well, I think what's happening is that Liverpool's lawyers are now going to look at the FIFA ruling and see whether there's some kind of loophole in it they can get.
Well, because he was on Uruguayan duty when it happened, you mean?
Yeah, but as somebody pointed out earlier, I mean, if he had been done for taking illegal drugs or he'd been drug tested positive or something like that, it wouldn't matter whether he was on duty for Uruguay or not. He'd still be banned.
Well, I mean, if you're in Uruguay or in Brazil and you rob a bank, I mean, you can't suddenly say, well, I'm British, so send me back to England where I don't rob banks and don't punish me.
Ronnie Biggs tried that, didn't he?
Yeah.
08717 22 3344. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to give Porky a test of his musical knowledge, because it is Glastonbury weekend. We're going to be talking to Sandra Lee, our good friend from Australia. A couple of good stories down there as well. Right now, though, coming up to 4 o'clock, it's time for the news and sports headlines with Simon Watts.
Hola, amigos.
Talk Sport.
Licensed broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
Brilliant goal!
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Radio that will grab you by the cojones.
Every game, every goal, every day. On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
World Cup Extra Time with Mike Graham on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham and he's Mike Parry and you're listening to Extra Time. The two mics are keeping you entertained throughout the night. There will be a podcast available coming out in a few hours' time, of course. We'll be talking an awful lot about Luis Suarez because he seems to have kippered his career for the moment. He's not going to be able to play for Liverpool until November. He's banned from international duty for a very, very long time. And, of course, he's not allowed to do anything football-related. We've been asking you for your comments on that and we've got lots of great tweets and texts and emails to read out as well. Of course, it all started with this moment of madness.
There's been a collision off the ball on the edge of the 6-yard area. Free kick to Italy is given. That's very interesting, isn't it? Suarez appeared to move his head towards Chiellini. Well, did he go to bite him there?
Luis Suarez is suspended for 9 matches and banned for 4 months from any football-related activity. The player Luis Suarez is prohibited from entering the confines of any stadium during the period of the ban.
So we think he's banned for all sorts of football-related activity. We'll talk a bit more about that a little bit later on. Coming up in this hour, though, Mr. Parry, we are going to give you a music quiz. We'll be playing you some tracks that you may or may not recognise.
Well, you're not going to make a fool of me, I'm telling you that.
Well, we won't make a fool of you. No, you're perfectly capable of making a fool of yourself. We will talk some more about all sorts of things to do with Luis Suarez and the World Cup, of course, because we are now down to the last 16. By the way, we should say that if you look at those last 16 teams, and it makes you even more sick to the back teeth that England aren't in there, doesn't it?
Well, not really, because Europe have not done well in the continued the last 16, have they? There's more teams from outside of Europe than there are inside Europe. I mean, a lot of big teams have come back. Italy, England, Spain, obviously, the holders. I mean, you know, it's been a bit of a slap in the face for Europe, who we've always...
no European teams ever won it in South America.
No, of course not. But we always, you know, we did think the day was coming closer than it would because so many of the South American players play in Europe now. We felt that we, you know, reached a stage now where there's very little difference between South America and Europe in terms of climatic conditions.
But since we had that conversation the other night about which teams to support now that England are out, I've got to report that my teams have done very well. Belgium, as you said, that I should support because I once said,
your team.
Belgium, Costa Rica, and the United States. All three, and Algeria as well, which was my fourth team. All 4 of them are in the last 16.
Yeah, so you're only supporting 4 teams now that England have gone out. Yeah, excellent.
Well, I mean, because the point is, there's no reason to watch football unless you favour one team or the other. There's no point in watching it in a completely neutral way.
I totally disagree.
I was watching the USA-Germany game last night.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really wanted USA to go through. And so I was delighted when they did. And, you know, if I didn't care...
Well, you have some affiliation to the USA because 2 of your children are American. So I can forgive you for that one.
Well, they're half American.
But what possible allegiance you've got to Costa Rica. I've no idea.
I just like the way they play.
Is that where Mickey Brennan lives? Is that
He
Costa
does.
Rica?
Mickey Brennan, yeah. So I've got a friend
I
who
thought
lives
that was
there.
Puerto Rico.
No, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Costa Rica is a Central American country. But his
Ah.
wife is Costa Rican. And he
It's
says
not an island then, Costa Rica. No, of course it's not.
an
No, I thought it was. Yeah, no,
Why
it's
do you
not.
think it's an island?
No, because I thought it was Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico's an island.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
been to Puerto Rico?
Sorry?
Have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
Yeah, I have did a job there. It's is it Haiti and Puerto Rico on the
No,
same?
that's the Dominican Republic.
Oh, Dominican Republic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've probably been there then. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been to.
Not
You're not
sure
sure
I've
if you've been
been
to
there.
Puerto Rico.
No, I'm not sure. No.
I mean, a lot of Americans used to go there because you could gamble. When I was living
Right.
in New York, I used to go to Puerto Rico for the weekend. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like 2.5, 3 hour flight.
Yeah.
And they've got casinos and all that kind of thing, lots of beach resorts. Very nice, actually.
Yeah,
I got
so-
very bad sunburn there once.
Yeah, decadent. You mean?
I went
decadent.
snorkeling and I forgot to wear a t-shirt. You know,
Right,
I've
yeah.
never been snorkeling.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
been snorkeling?
I don't understand snorkeling. Also,
I really don't understand it.
Well, what happens to me when I go snorkeling is I suck water into the tube and it goes in my mouth. I don't understand what snorkeling's all
Well, then you
about.
haven't got the tube in your mouth properly, then obviously.
Well, I have got a tube in my mouth properly, but I just don't get it. I don't. Well,
Yeah,
you're
and if
supposed
the water gets in your mouth, you just blow it out and it goes out the top.
Yeah, but then you've got no air left in your lungs because you've blown water out.
Well, then you just breathe more in through the pipe. That's the whole point of
No,
it.
but if you're underwater, you
the
suck
pipe
water
is,
in.
Yeah, but the pipe's above the water.
But it's not always above the water. That's the whole point.
Well, you're not doing it right then.
What these guys do is
You're sinking. You're not snorkeling.
when I was in Australia. When I was in Australia once, I saw all these guys with these snorkels, and they suck air in, and then they go diving down, and they start tickling the chins of these huge fish. These I don't know what
Well,
sort
the
of
rays.
I don't know.
Manta rays.
These guys are very used to the sea and all that kind of stuff. So I followed one down, trying to think, I'm an expert snorkeler. But then something went wrong, and instead of like retaining air in my lungs suddenly filled up with water because it was all coming down through my snorkeling pipe. And so
you could have drowned.
Well, I nearly did, because worse than that, the water flooded into my face mask as well, so it's going up my nose as well. So, in fact,
You sure they weren't scuba diving?
No.
Like a tank and everything.
No. This was all snorkeling.
Was this on the Great Barrier Reef or something?
It was where was it? It was off Perth.
Oh, right.
It was like
Fremantle,
Western Australia.
that way.
Yeah, Fremantle, all that.
Well, that's the wrong direction for the Great Barrier Reef.
Well, of course it is. It wasn't the Great Barrier Reef. I told you it wasn't, but it's still very nice, clear blue seas. And actually, you won't believe it, Mike, I got out just in time, because as I got out and got back on the boat, I looked down and I saw the shadow of a 6-foot-long shark going under the boat. And the other guys, who are Australians, they just simply weren't concerned. And I was jumping up and down, shouting, shark, shark, shark. They couldn't care less, honestly.
They must have loved you on that boat trip.
They knew how to deal with it. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk to Sandra Lee about that, who's our correspondent down in Australia.
Exactly.
She's coming on in a little while.
Yeah.
But first we've got Mike, who's a Liverpool fan, also bizarrely in Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah,
I had
very-
no idea there were such a lot of Liverpool fans in Tunbridge
Very
Wells.
popular tonight,
Mike,
obviously.
a very good morning to you.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. What would you like to say?
Well, firstly, I'd say good show.
Thank you.
And I think you both got great names.
It's very kind of you, mate.
Yeah,
We all
I
have.
know the three Mikes, I guess you could say.
Exactly.
Right. Firstly, I don't understand why you think Liverpool is fair that Liverpool get punished over this Luis Suarez thing.
Well, it's
Can I
fair
just
because,
say-
unfortunately
Hang
for
on,
them... Well, it's fair because, unfortunately for them, he's their player.
Yeah, well, when we bought him, the incident had only happened once, right? So we didn't know it was some sort of psychological problem. When it happened the second time, we gave him psychological support, psychiatrists or whatever, counselling, and we did everything we could to try and make sure it didn't happen again. The fact that it's happened again, we did try. I mean, we're not, the fact that it's happened again, it's out of order that Liverpool get punished.
Well,
actually, it's not,
on
you see,
international duty.
because I was saying earlier, Mike, that Liverpool took a risk, and it was very good that in some ways they took the risk on Luis Suarez, because, having known that he'd done it once before they signed him, known that he'd done it again when they had signed him, they could have made the decision to let him go and got quite a lot of money for him, 50 million plus. But they decided, we're going to risk and we're going to gamble with this guy, and we're going to hope that we can fix it, right? And unfortunately for them, the gamble hasn't paid off, and now they have to reap the reverse of the benefits of that.
But it happened on international. When it happened with Abramovich, not Abramovich, who was it? The Chelsea player.
Ivanovic.
Ivanovic,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah.
When
I
it
think if
happened with
he'd
him,
bitten Abramovich, I think there might have been a different sort of story altogether.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
When it happened with him, it was we did what we could. What can we do?
Mike, I've got a lot of sympathy with what you're saying, and you could take your argument a bit further, because the point you've just made is that when he bit the Chelsea player, he was wearing a Liverpool shirt, therefore it was the brand responsibility of Liverpool Football Club. But when he bit the guy the other night, the Italian guy, he was wearing a Uruguayan shirt, and therefore he was the brand responsibility of the country and the Football Association of Uruguay. So why should Liverpool have to pay the penalty for that? And I think that's a very good argument. I really
don't think it is. I think because they
I think it's a very good argument because the individual pressures of him playing for his country in a World Cup competition may have led to the psychological flaw which resulted in him biting another player. So why should Liverpool have to pay for that? Because Liverpool have clearly managed the boy's psychological problem better when he's in a Liverpool shirt than Uruguay have managed to control it in a Uruguayan shirt.
Definitely, the way Liverpool sort of handled it when it happened. I mean, look, Uruguay have, like, as you say.
But what you're saying, Mike, Mike, what you're saying effectively is that when Luis Suarez goes on international duty, Liverpool have no ties to him. Liverpool have no responsibility for how he behaves, and how he behaves does not reflect on Liverpool at all. I don't think that's realistic.
It does reflect on Liverpool. I mean, I agree with that. He's bringing the club down a little bit, and we should punish him for that. We should maybe, fine him or do something like that. But we shouldn't be punished.
Yeah, you've got a very good point, Mike. Because look at it this way: if Liverpool have made it absolutely clear to Luis Suarez, if you ever bite another footballer again wearing a Liverpool shirt, we will sell you, we'll get rid of you, and we'll probably fine you £3 million of wages that we've already paid you. Let me finish, please.
That does not appear to be the case.
Let me finish. Because what I'm saying here, Mike, is this. If he goes and joins the Uruguayan squad, but the Uruguayan squad show an indifferent attitude to whether he bites somebody or not, then that's something Liverpool cannot control, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, but hang on. But on the back page of the Times this morning, the headline says Liverpool bite back at Suarez ban. So it's very clear that they have not said anything like that to him, because in fact the story here says Liverpool have joined the Uruguayan FA in considering legal action against FIFA after Luis Suarez received a 4-month ban from football for biting an opponent. So Liverpool are actually in the Suarez Uruguay camp here. What they're trying to do is say this is unfair and we should not be punished. Therefore, they're
we've got £100 million asset that we can't use for 14 or till the 1st of November.
But that's his fault, isn't it?
His fault, not Liverpool's fault.
But he's employed by Liverpool Football Club.
But Mike, what point are you making there? All you're saying is Liverpool are protesting against the ban.
No, they're taking the line that instead of saying what you suggested, which is, if you do this again, we will sell you, and we are not going to be any part of this club.
In the Liverpool shirt, I said.
But they're not agreeing to the way Uruguay have. They're not agreeing to the way Uruguay have dealt with it themselves. They're just saying that we'll appeal against it.
But surely what they should be saying, Mike, is that Luis Suarez has let the club down. He has been a disgrace. We've told him not to do this again.
Shirt,
it doesn't matter whether he did it in a Liverpool shirt.
I think it does.
Well, he might have done it on the street, while he was wearing a suit. That's not any different.
I think all the controls and safeguards around Luis Suarez when he's playing in a Liverpool shirt are designed to make sure he doesn't psychologically break and bite somebody. And clearly, Liverpool could be thinking, did Uruguay put all those safeguards and controls into place as well to look after our player?
No, I
they
don't
could
think
be suing the Uruguayan FA.
No, you can't separate
by saying you didn't look after our asset properly.
No, you can't separate the two things. Mike, we've got to let it go. Thank you very much indeed. Mike, Liverpool fan down in Tunbridge Wells there. We'll take more of your calls on this. 08717 223344. It is the big football story of the World Cup, of course. England are out. There's loads more football to come. It's still all live right here on TalkSport. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Sandra Lee, our correspondent down in Australia. She's got an update for us on the missing plane, and she'll tell us how the Socceroos have been welcomed back after their defeat in Brazil as well. This is TalkSport.
Licensed broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil, TalkSport.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men wonder. Can't you hear the thunder?
We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Gray. Unfortunately, he's taken his dark glasses off and his nose guard, and he's stopped dabbing himself with lemon juice because...
I haven't taken them off at all.
Well, you have taken them off.
Only to wipe my eyes with a bit of lemon juice.
You're going to put them back on again,
Yeah, I am, yeah.
This place is stinking of lemon juice. And it's
well,
that horrible
lemon juice is a very pleasant smell.
It's that horrible artificial sweet lemon juice as well.
It's not.
Why don't you look on the side of it and tell me what else is in it? Because I bet
you don't need to.
Tell me what else
lemon
is in
juice made with concentrated lemon juice from the Cooperative, which is one of the most reliable brand names in this country.
Right,
and there are no other contents.
What does it say?
No other contents.
Go on, read it out.
There aren't any. No, there aren't any.
Do you want me to read it?
No. I'm not giving you the
No,
bottle.
you're not giving it to me.
No.
All right, I'll tell you what, we'll talk to Sandra Lee then, our
Let's do that.
former queen of the tabloids of America, of course, now back in Australia, in Sydney, where apparently there isn't any hay fever, according to one of our earlier tweeters,
That's
actually. We've got lots to talk to her about, not least the Socceroos and their rather miserable World Cup campaign.
It wasn't miserable.
Yeah, it was.
For goodness sake, Tim Cahill scored the goal of the competition. Is that not right, Sandra?
Sandra, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you too. Gosh, you make me laugh. You're like an old married couple.
Well, yeah, well...
it's about the closest thing Harry's ever come to marriage, I can tell you.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it, Sandra? Sandra, you worked with me in New York. You know the effect I used to have on those girls walking down 2nd and 3rd Avenue. But we won't...
revulsion.
We won't go into that. No, Sandra, seriously, great to have you on again, my dear, and always great to talk to you. But I think Tim Cahill, gave most Australians an awful lot to remember from this World Cup campaign, didn't he?
Well, those 2 goals were pretty spectacular, and as you said, one of them, the one that he scored in against the Netherlands, I think still stands as the goal of the World Cup series thus far.
So do I.
I actually didn't see it, I have to say. I missed it.
Come on.
I was in Washington at the time.
Well, haven't you recapped on it and had a look at it?
No, I haven't had a chance. No,
Sandra,
I'm so busy.
I'll explain to this boy. Within seconds of Holland scoring, this ball's floated over on a long dipping curve to the far side of the penalty area. Tim Cahill then, with his wrong foot, because his best foot's his right foot, with his left foot, takes it out of the air and smashes it, Van Persie style.
Right.
But what was great
From
about
about, 20 yards out or so?
I would say not quite that far, perhaps 16 yards, something like that. But the great thing about it, Sandra, was that he smashed it, and it could literally have gone 15 feet over the bar, but he hit it in such a way that it dipped over the goalkeeper and just in under the bar. It was spectacular, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just like it was sort of, touched by God and it dropped in. It was perfect.
Yeah.
He says it's one of the best goals that he's ever done, and he actually said that, it was the type of thing that Van Persie would have done himself, so he's pretty chuffed with his performance.
Yeah, and how is what's the response back in Australia to coming home early? Obviously, you're a limited football nation because of your population, but have the expectations been met? I.e., you went out in the qualifying group stage, but not without a fight.
Well, that's true, and nobody in Australia expected them to get very far at all, least of all, I think, themselves. And I think that was one of the big surprises. Even Cahill this week, when he's just gotten home, says, we did better than we had expected. So they had low expectations themselves, and they didn't disgrace themselves. The young blood who went out there did a pretty good show, and I think everybody is looking forward to the next sort of 4 years to see what the Socceroos can do then. Hopefully it's a bit better, and hopefully they'll sort of, have a victory somewhere along the way.
The interesting thing is, I suppose, for Australian soccer fans, is that they can look forward to something improving, whereas here in England, we've got this ghastly kind of, sort of deathly hand of Roy Hodgson, which every time he touches anything, it seems to just become mediocre. And he keeps saying we're all going to do much better in a couple of years' time. Hopefully they'll all be better. But, nobody here's really got any great hope that it's going to get any better for years and years and years.
Yeah, well, that's true. And Australia is starting off a pretty low base. And we have got now a whole group of new young blood that have been blooded on this tournament and will look like sort of getting even better as they go on.
Yeah,
they can't get any worse. Yeah, there won't be any sort of, parade down Main Street for them, though.
No, sure, but nevertheless, it's refreshing to know that you have an upbeat feeling about it. Sandra, let's move on to far more serious subjects, and that is the aeroplane. Whenever we speak to you, we have to talk about the missing plane. It's now said that the original search area, which is a few hundred miles south of the one that's been concentrated on over the last few weeks, is now favourite again to be the location where the plane went down. Seems like, every week comes by and every week we get a new theory.
It's crazy, isn't it? I just can't imagine what it's doing to the poor families of those 239 souls who are on board. But it seems that they're absolutely no closer to finding it. They've gone back to the same area that they searched in the original few days. But this time, instead of searching the ocean surface, which is what they did last time, they're going to go down to the bottom of the ocean, which can be up to 5 kilometres deep. So that's their new plan. But the area they're going to search is almost as long as England and about a fifth of the width. So it's a massive area, and it's going to take them months. Who knows what they're going to find?
Well,
how do they search it?
Well, they've got those underwater kind of robot-type machines, haven't they? But that didn't work because it was so deep and choppy, wasn't it, down there?
Yeah, that's right. And this time, apparently, some Chinese boats and some Australian boats are already out there starting work, but the big search will get underway in August. But nobody has any idea, really. You know, I mean, yesterday the Deputy Prime Minister was at a press conference saying, who knows, we could find it in the first hour or the first day, or it could take 12 months. I mean, what a ridiculous thing to say.
I know.
Yeah, well, it could take 15 years, I've read in some papers over
Well, they
here
might
in
never
England.
find
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's the thing. That, I mean, most Australians, I don't know how much money's being spent on this, and obviously, you know, there would be those who would say, well, money's not really the object of this exercise, and you have to keep looking for it for as long as you possibly can. But, I mean, it seems as though they've, you know, I'm just looking at some pictures coming in now, the search for the missing flight. And, you know, it's incredible that since March, they've just made no progress at all. They've not got a clue, really, where it is. They still don't really know how it happened.
I tell you what, Sandra, I think that Australia have come out of this incredibly well because, to be perfectly, yeah, I do, because look, Australia are being good neighbours to the two main countries involved, aren't they? You know, apart from the fact that it's nearer to Australia than any other landmass, it's not really an awful lot to do with Australia when a foreign nation's aircraft goes down, mostly with foreign people on it. So I think you've come out of it very well in showing, you know, tremendous commitment, compassion, and human spirit to trying to find the wreck of this plane.
I think you're right there, Mike. It's definitely a case of good global citizen by Australia, and it seems that neither the Prime Minister nor the Deputy Prime Minister, who was out there yesterday with the Australian Transport Safety Bureau boss, they're not going to back down. They say they're committed to this until they find it. Doesn't matter how long it takes. And as you're right, it could be 15 years. It may be never. It could be sort of, you know, the ongoing search for Amelia Earhart.
And incredibly, they now seem to think that, well, you know, again, the trouble is we've had so many different theories. They're now going back to the theory that the plane was on autopilot when it crashed or whatever happened to it. And earlier in the week, they were going back to the theory that the pilot himself had some responsibility for it.
Yes, well, he's the number one suspect, if there is a suspect to be had, apparently. But how do they know? I mean, so far they haven't been able to do anything other than pin down when it was last detected, which was about sort of just over an hour after it took off from Kuala Lumpur at 4:41 p.m. on that fateful day in March. And then they've known nothing about it other than the 6 hours that it flew on autopilot. And apparently flying on autopilot in a jet of that magnitude is not unusual.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's right. When will the moment come, Sandra, when the public will actually start to become not bored with all this, but, you know, they'll become wary of, or weary, I should say, of the commitment that Australia is showing to something which, you know, is not directly affecting an awful lot of Australian families?
I think they were already starting to tire of it. You can tell that just by the placement of the stories in the newspaper and on the evening bulletins and the radio broadcast. It's getting sort of pushed towards the back of the newspapers, and it's down sort of a lower story in the newscast. I don't think that many Australians are terribly exercised about it too much. I think that they'll, you know, at some point they'll come to look at the numbers that are being crunched over it and say, well, you know, what are we doing this for? How much longer do we go on?
Sure.
Yeah, I was reading that it's already amongst the most expensive search rescue operations in aviation history.
Must be, yeah.
And they're going to use submarines this time as well. So are they Australian submarines they're using then?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, you know, and our submarines don't stand up that well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Now, just on a brighter subject, Sandra, I am very much a winter person. I like going to Iceland here in the Northern Hemisphere for my holidays.
When was the last time you went to Iceland?
Oh, a couple of years ago.
Really?
And I don't like the heat and the weather because of my fair skin and hay fever and all that kind of stuff.
Fair skin.
How wintry is the Australian winter? And if I was coming down there, would I have to head to New Zealand to get real wintry weather?
Yes, to the last point, you would definitely need to go to New Zealand. For instance, today in Sydney, it is the most glorious day. It's about 23 degrees Celsius, which I'm not sure what that is in your Fahrenheit.
Well, we do Celsius now.
Yeah, we do.
Porky's not very good at it because he's
you do?
old-fashioned.
Okay, so
we do that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty toasty, and there's not a breath of wind in the air, and it's a beautiful cerulean sky, so it's absolutely the most magnificent sort of few days that we've been having of winter. When it gets cold in Sydney, it doesn't get too cold at all. You know, I ran into an Irishman the other night out on the street as we were coming home from dinner, and he just had a T-shirt on, and I said, gosh, it's cold, and he said, it's just a little bit sort of warmish to me.
Yeah. I mean, how do you tell the difference between winter and summer in Australia, unless somebody tells you what time of the year it is?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I mean. I mean, you know, do people still go on Bondi Beach on days like today.
Yes. Oh, yeah, today Bondi Beach has got sort of, I reckon there'd be about 300 to 400 people down there, just sort of either surfing in their wetsuits or sort of lying on the beach in a nice sort of nook of the northern end where the wind doesn't hit you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there. It's really quite glorious in Sydney. Melbourne gets a bit colder, which is further south, and Tasmania gets colder again. But no, Sydney is lovely. I think it'd be perfect for you and your hay fever.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have any here.
Well, that's good. And just very quickly, New Zealand then, do they have proper winters? Like, I'd like a winter, you know, a bit of snow.
This is
and
like a
all
weather
that.
report you're doing.
Yeah, I want to know if I ever go there.
Why don't you
asymmetric-
span out into the
asymmetric
sort of
pressure.
yeah? Why don't you span out into the South Sea Islands, see what the weather's like in Fiji?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't want to go at the wrong time.
No, New Zealand does get cold, and New Zealand is cold a lot of the year.
Oh, good.
And especially if you go down to Wellington, which is the most magnificent-looking city, but it's in the roaring 40s, so it's pretty cold down there. It's about the same sort of distance from Sydney as Tasmania, so it's cold.
Oh, good. I might go there sometime. And,
Yeah, why don't you go
I'll
there soon?
I'll drop in and see you on the way through, Sandra. It'd be a pleasure.
Yeah,
It would be lovely to see you.
I bet you can't
Absolutely,
wait, so
thank
see if
you.
you're going to get him thrown out by the immigration people for being a general nuisance.
Bit harsh.
So, why don't you go down there and stay for a while?
Well, why not?
Yeah, good idea. Well, he's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. These are the two Mikes. We'll be back with a musical quiz for
That was a
Mr.
very
Parry.
cynical comment.
Coming up next. This is Talk Sports Extra Time. We are the two Mikes.
Slow down and come back, won't you?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, I was expecting some music, you see, because we're going to give you a musical quiz
Oh,
now.
I see.
And
Yeah,
so,
I got
you know
it.
why we
I've got
decided
it.
to give you a musical quiz, didn't we?
No.
Well, because it's Glastonbury weekend, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to a music festival
No.
in your life. You've
No, I
probably
haven't.
been to the odd concert, haven't you?
Yeah, I used to go
Have
to
you ever
concerts.
thought about going to somewhere like Glastonbury? Because it's sort of one of those
I wouldn't dream
cultural
it. I wouldn't dream it for two reasons.
must-haves now.
Firstly, there's far too many people there. You can't hear what's going on the stage anyway. I hate the groups that go there because I've never heard of them. The
Rolling Stones have played there.
the
Coldplay have played there.
The sanitary conditions at a place like that are
U2
an
have
utter
played there.
disgrace.
Well, you've heard of all of
Utter-
these bands,
utter-
surely.
utter- yeah, but they're what you call the headliners. So they come up on at the end of it on Saturday night, I suppose, do they? Or is it Sunday night? What day? When
Well, I
does it
think
end?
usually Saturday night's usually the big
Yeah,
night.
Saturday night. Okay, so they come the last group on Saturday night. For the previous 2 days, you wallow around in mud listening to a load of deadbeats who can't make it anywhere else in the music
Or
world. So
alternatively, you listen
they come to
well,
Glastonbury.
alternatively, as I told you when you decided you liked that band, the Kings of Leon. Do you remember when you discovered the Kings of Leon
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
months ago?
Yeah.
And I said that I'd seen them for the first time actually at a thing called Tea in the Park, which is a big Scottish festival that goes on a little bit earlier on in the year.
Right.
And it was absolutely amazing because they were on a very small stage because nobody had really heard of them at that point. And sometimes you can see a band that actually becomes very big.
Well, how many stages are there?
Well, at Glastonbury?
Yeah.
There's about half a dozen.
Well, that's ridiculous because the noise from one stage must filter over to the
No,
other.
it doesn't.
Of course it does.
No.
Of course it does. Don't you know the principles of sound? Sound it travels endlessly.
Yeah, but if you're
it never
standing
stops.
next to one of the smaller stages, all you're hearing is what's coming from that stage.
Yeah, but you might be hearing what's coming from a bigger
No.
stage behind you.
No, you won't.
Yeah, you could
Technically,
do.
they've worked all that out.
Well, I don't know if they worked it out. And anyway, Kings of Leon, my niece went to the Isle of Wight Festival last
Ah,
week.
there you go.
And she said the Kings of Leon were there and she thought they were hopeless.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe she's just too young to like them. They're a bit old now for young trendies, I would
Well,
imagine.
no, she's not necessarily young trendy. She's she's a middle 20s professional from London. She's a surveyor,
Right.
and she thought,
Well, they're not very cool anymore.
I'm being a bit harsh here saying the Kings of Leon are hopeless because clearly they're a very established rock band. But she said she wasn't over impressed with their set.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see whether you can be in any way informed.
Okay.
As with most quizzes, you normally get somewhere around 20 to 30% right. We've only got
Yeah,
5.
but you rigged the questions. I've already told you I don't know much about modern music, right? Because I don't follow modern music. I follow the great classical pop music of the 70s and the 80s and maybe of the 90s.
Right, well, we've got some of that
Oasis
in
was
here.
the last band that I thought had any credibility whatsoever.
Right. Well, there's no Oasis in here, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, in that case, you see, you've set me up again.
Well, I haven't. There are lots of other bands. Let's hear the first piece of music, see if you can guess who this is. Any idea?
Well, that sounds like Alice Cooper to me.
No, it's not a bad guess.
That sounds like, School's Out for Summer.
You're in the right sort of ballpark. It's actually a band called Metallica.
Metallica.
They're
How long have
headlining.
how
They're
long have
headlining Glastonbury.
And how long have they been around?
Quite a long time.
And why are they called Metallica? Because they sound like Led Zeppelin.
No, they're called Metallica because that was the name that they gave themselves.
Heavy
It was kind
metal.
of metal. It was kind of speed metal when it got started. But that's a song called Enter Sandman. It's probably
Speed
their
metal.
probably their most famous song.
Rubbish.
All right, 0 out of 1. Let's try number 2.
But I'm trying to get your attention. I need you to know
I'll give you a clue.
No, hang on. That sounds like that very young bunch of girls who are the current popular vogue in
very
young
good.
girl bands.
Yeah, the biggest female band currently in the
That's
world.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I think I'll give you half a point for that.
Yeah. And
Any idea of the name of the band?
was 4 of them.
Begins with an H.
H. No, I'd be saying something ridiculous.
I think we'll give you that. It's a song called Forever by Haim.
Haim?
Yeah.
Haim, right, okay.
I think we'll give him that one.
There you go.
Let's give
See?
him that one.
Yeah, great.
Oh, brilliant! This is drama in the extreme.
All right,
Excellent.
number 3.
Mm.
And he said, behold, what I have done. I made a vessel for everyone. Nobody laughed, nobody cried.
It's looking like you might recognise it.
No, I know who that is.
Oh, go on.
That's Hazel O'Connor.
Very good.
And she sung, I love the sound of breaking glass.
Yeah.
That was from my ear,
That
actually.
was a song as well, yeah.
I interviewed her once at the Roundhouse in Camden
Yeah,
when
well,
I
that's
worked on the
fine.
Birmingham Evening Mail.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
And she was only about 19 then, or 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she went off to America, to New York, and
Sank Without a Trace.
well, she didn't really sing Without a Trace, but I love the sound of breaking glass. And I know the other one she sang.
Well, what's that song called?
No, she sang for me that night, and it was. These are the decadent days. These are the decadent days.
Well, I've been asked not to
These
allow you
are
to
the
sing.
decadent,
Well, what about that one we just
days.
played? What song is that? Any idea?
Well, it's one of those, isn't it?
Eighth Day.
Eighth Day.
Is the name of
Eighth Day, there
Oh,
you go.
wow, congratulations, pal.
See?
You got the right answer.
See?
He's still a numpty.
There we go. There we go.
All right, we'll give you 2 for that one then. All right, this one, you should get this one. Number 4. It's looking blank.
No, I should
You know
recognise-
this song?
I quite like that song. I quite like it. And I've heard
Yeah.
it before, but the problem is, Mike, these days when you're driving around in your Merc and you listen to music on the radio, you don't actually know who's singing it. You just like the songs, you know. But that to me sounds. See, it's a bit Oasis-ish, if you know what I mean.
Not a million miles away from that era.
Is it Verve or Blur or somebody?
It's not, no,
Right,
but it's
right.
from your neck of the woods.
Sorry?
It's from your neck of the woods.
From my neck, so it's from like Merseyside, is
No,
it?
Wales.
Well, Wales. Oh, it's the Manic Street Preachers.
It is the Manic Street
There you
Preachers.
go.
Oh, brilliant!
There you
This
go.
is drama.
Any ideas
in
on the name of the
extreme.
song?
Oh, sometime tomorrow.
I Designed for Life. I actually used to drink in a pub with a couple of those guys in Cardiff.
Really?
It coincided with the same time that it was all Cool Cymru and all that, you know?
Yeah, but were they big in those days or just
Yeah.
becoming big?
No, they were huge.
What? And they would go into a pub in Cardiff and drink with you?
Yeah.
What about getting mobbed by all the people?
Well, because the Welsh were very respectful of them.
Oh, really?
They were big rugby fans and they would turn up at rugby
Was
games.
this before or after one of them disappeared off the Clifton suspension
It was
bridge?
after.
Yeah.
Well, nobody knows where he disappeared from.
Wasn't it thought he might have fallen off the Clifton
It was
suspension
thought
bridge?
that, yeah, but it's a big mystery. Nobody's ever found it.
Is that right? Did he go out for a packet of cigarettes and never come back?
Something like that.
That's terrible,
Yeah,
isn't it?
very strange story.
Right, okay.
Right,
Doing well,
finally,
eh? Doing well.
Well, I'm going to give you 2.5, I think, because otherwise I'm
Mhm.
going to give you too many. So 2.5 out of 5 already.
Yeah.
This will push you over the 50% barrier if you
Okay.
can get this one. This is your
Okay.
last one.
Well, it's a girl band.
I'm only laughing because of the expression on your face.
Yeah, it's a girl band.
Yeah, very good.
And I reckon it's...
No points for that.
It's the one that contains... The only permanent member of it is the blonde-haired Scandinavian girl, and the other two keep changing all the time.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Are they American?
Have a listen to the words again. Play the words again.
Miss Dynamite.
You're good. That's it.
Miss Dynamite.
Miss Dynamite.
Miss Dynamite.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the song is called?
Miss Dynamite.
Miss Dynamite.
Miss Dynamite. There
Yeah.
you go. See? There you go.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, I have to say I did help you through that a little bit, but I'm afraid I have to admit that you've done a lot better than I thought you
Well,
would.
there
With
you go.
3.5 out of 5,
There
which
you go.
actually is pretty damn good going for
Excellent,
you, Mr. Porky Parry. One of the better
Excellent.
quizzes
Yeah.
as a result
Yeah.
that we've ever done with you.
When was the last time you can remember a record being the same title as the name of the group?
That one there, Miss Dynamite.
No, do you remember Hocus Pocus by
Yeah.
Focus?
Yes.
And do you also remember...
That wasn't the same, was it?
Eh?
Focus wasn't called Focus. The song wasn't
No,
called
it sort
Focus.
of nearly was, it nearly rhymed. but no, but the other... Yeah, but the other one... The other one was...
Well, a bit like Let It Be. Sounded a bit like the Beatles.
No, you fool. But the other one was, and this is a bit sensitive really, because it involves Gary Glitter, who is under a bit of a cloud.
We haven't got a lot of
at the
time
moment.
here, you know.
No, I know. But the Glitter Band poured out a record called Glitter by the Glitter Band.
Are you sure?
I'm certain, yeah.
All right. How about Madness by Madness?
Did they produce a record called Madness?
Thank you very much indeed. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We'll be back with more next.
On DAB, digital radio, on 1089 and 1053 AM. The 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil live on TalkSport. Welcome to the jungle, man.
TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and Mike Parry, of course, is here. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast out a little bit later on in the day, and then we'll be back, of course, tonight after 2 o'clock as well.
That's fantastic.
It's a bonus 2 Mikes special.
Joining you again tonight?
Yes.
From 2 till 4?
Yeah, we'll be looking ahead to the massive weekend of football
We
coming
certainly
up.
will, yeah.
Because of course, I don't know what you're going to do to yourself today. There's no football. It's the first time in, nearly 2 weeks that there's actually no football to watch.
You're absolutely right. It's the first day there are no games.
So what are you
it's
going
the
to
end
do
of
then?
the qualifiers. I'm just trying to work out what day it is.
Presumably you're going to don your oxygen mask and go for a walk along the pollen-lined streets of Surrey.
Obviously, I'll be feeding the ducks because I haven't done that for a couple of days, OK? Then I'll...
Why not? Well, what happens when you don't feed them?
Well, I'm part of a conservancy. Other people do it when I don't do it, OK?
Have you got like a rota then? Like a duck rota?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And then I shall be trying to do a bit of walking in Surrey, but I have got a dodgy right knee.
Have you?
So I'm, a little bit reluctant.
You're falling apart a bit at the moment, aren't you?
I am.
You got hay fever, you got a broken tooth.
Yeah.
Is it the same knee you had trouble with last year?
No, that was the left knee. This is the right knee.
Oh, right.
A bit
What have you
worried
done
about it. But I also will have to go and seek treatment for my tooth, although I can't get it done till next Tuesday when my dental surgeon comes back from holiday, because I've only had a temporary filling put in.
Haven't they got like
temporary dressing.
Haven't they got like a surgery where they've got lots of dentists?
No, because he looks after my teeth. I don't trust anybody else to do it, to be honest. And
who did the temporary one then?
Sorry?
Who did the temporary filling?
Some locum guy who was filling in for him while he was away. Yeah. And I want him to do it because he's done all my other teeth, so he knows what's in my teeth. You know what I mean? And
what do you mean, what's in them?
Well, because he knows where all the fillings are. You can't tell where your fillings are.
Because he has to look at all the different levels of your teeth and the different, the ones that are in front of the others and the ones that are behind the others.
A couple of years ago, I had all my fillings taken out and replaced with white fillings. So I don't know where my fillings are anymore.
Why'd you do that?
Well, because they used to be silver, but I thought they looked unsightly.
They used to be made of amalgam,
Did they? Well, they looked unsightly.
I watched an interview with Ronnie Lane. Here's a guy who was a legend who died. You were
I
asking me about
remember Ronnie Lane.
From the Faces,
He
right?
unfortunately had MS or something.
He did have MS, and he became very convinced at one point or other that
it was
that
poison
his MS
in
was
his
caused.
fillings.
No, but it was caused by the amalgam in the fillings.
Is amalgam mercury?
Yeah, there's mercury in it. Yeah, and it's basically well, it's called amalgam because it's an amalgamated sort of metal, basically. And he became totally convinced that that was what was causing it, and he had them all taken out. And I interviewed him, funnily enough, in the Gramercy Park Hotel. He was doing a show at the Limelight on, like 6th Avenue. You remember the old church?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
nightclub.
I do. Yeah.
And he was a great guy, brilliant guy, but unfortunately he died maybe about 6 months after I interviewed him.
But was he ravaged with MS when you interviewed him?
Yeah, I mean, he was...
Because I saw him... I didn't see him in a concert, but I saw footage of a concert here to raise money when he had to be helped onto the stage.
Yeah, that was pretty much how it was.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was still able to play some of the great old songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he's usually supported by Ronnie Wood, isn't he, of the Stones, because they were in the same Faces
I mean,
group
Ronnie
together.
Wood wasn't there, but there was a couple of other kind of reasonably
But
famous,
I made a
guitarists
mistake
around.
a couple of years ago, and I had all my metal fillings taken out and replaced with white ones.
But you didn't have that done for that reason. You weren't worried about the danger.
Oh, no. Just looked unsightly. I didn't want them to look unsightly, So, but what I should have done is I should have just had them all taken out full stop and replaced with either caps or implants, because that's what I'm going to have to do now, because I've got a pain in another one of my teeth, which will mean that I'll have 3 missing teeth.
Are you in pain now, then?
Well, not in pain, but it's just a sensation. I know it's
Because you've been taking painkillers, that might explain some of the
No,
stuff
I
that's
haven't
coming
taken any painkillers, no. But I just get the feeling there's going to be a problem with another tooth in my mouth. So I'm going to see my dentist and say, look, why don't you take them all out and just put in a load of false teeth for me?
Take them all out? Well, it's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Well, I don't think you can
You get those ones that you can screw in now.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Whatever you want. You don't want the ones that just come out.
No. I'm saying they will all be implants. You have to replace them one by
it's
one.
very expensive, though, isn't it?
They're £3,000 a tooth.
A tooth?
Yeah, £3,000 a tooth.
So how many teeth have you got then?
I'm trying to work it out. This is about, how many teeth would you have? About 32, is it?
Something like that.
It costs £100,000.
Well, that's a ridiculous amount of money to spend.
To replace all the teeth in my mouth, but that means I'll never have to go and see a dentist again. You see what I mean? Because they don't.
Well, you wouldn't be able to go out anymore. You wouldn't afford to go anywhere. Just sit in the house and look at your teeth. And go, that was 100,000 well spent. It's a shame I don't fit very well.
No, I mean, it's not quite like that, is it? But I mean, I can't see an alternative. Otherwise, I'm going to have to keep going back to the dentist till I get really old and all my teeth start crumbling and falling to pieces.
Well, why don't you just get those regular sort of false teeth that you just can take in and out?
Look, you mean that you're keeping a jar by your bedside? Oh, yeah, I'd love that, wouldn't I?
Well,
Yeah. And you'd love that as well, wouldn't you? You'd love to make jokes about that, wouldn't you?
Well, it's
Eh?
better than spending 100,000 quid on some teeth that
Yeah, but
you
always
are going to basically outlive you.
You always feel that if I suppose your teeth would outlive you, yeah. You always feel that if you have a huge jars, if we go out and sort of celebrate a good show and have a bit of lunch and all that, your teeth
they'd
might
come
fall
out.
out. Yeah, well, you do. You always worry about it, don't you?
Well, it'd be like Don McKay used to take them out, didn't he?
Oh no, he didn't, did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
How much of it was false?
Well, just the sort of two front ones. He used to take them out and then decide to punch people.
Well, he took him out in case the person punched him back and damaged his teeth.
No, his thing was that if he was getting in a row in the bar, he would sort of he would lift the two front teeth out, put them on the side of the bar, and that was his kind of invitation to go outside.
Oh, was it really? Yeah. I don't know.
He did it to me once. I took them out took them outside and threw them in the river.
There was another guy. You didn't, did you?
I did, yeah.
Well, you threw his teeth in the river.
Yeah.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
They could have been a very expensive pair of.
Should have taken them out then, should he?
Oh, that's disgusting. And taking them out's disgusting. But throwing his teeth away, that's a bit harsh. There was another guy called the Animal we used to mix with in Fleet Street. Remember Colin somebody?
Yeah, he's not been very well lately.
Oh, is he not?
Yeah, because I'm friends of his on Facebook, and he's been recovering from an operation or something.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, because he didn't take his teeth out when he felt like a punch-up. What he'd do is, he would suddenly take his jacket off, hand it to somebody else, and he'd start rolling up his sleeves, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he'd start
It's
licking
it's a very sort of Scottish thing, isn't it?
yeah, he'd start licking his lips then,
Yeah.
so, right, I'm ready for you now, boy,
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff, by which time the bloke he was supposed to be assailing had got the message, drunk up and left.
Yeah.
And so there never was a punch-up,
No.
there never was
Well,
a
there
fight,
hardly
you
ever
know.
was in the
Yeah,
car either.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
Very,
But
very strange.
It was kind of sending out like sort of signals that animals send out,
Yeah.
isn't it? This is my territory and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. You
I
know
was
what
once
I mean?
on a plane with him flying back from Spain.
Who, Colin? Yeah.
Colin, we were in the first class section and somebody objected to the fact that we were smoking because in those days you could still smoke.
Yeah,
on a
that's right,
plane.
yeah.
And he actually took out 3 cigarettes and lit all 3 of them. We were smoking 3 cigarettes
At
at the
once.
same time.
Yeah, just to not be provocative, yeah.
just to ignore,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
annoy this person who'd complained about the smoking. He was
Yeah.
a crazy guy.
We were in one pub in Fleet Street once, and we knew he was in another, and we were in the pub we were in, so as not to be in the same pub
Yeah.
as him, because he was on a bender,
Right.
and he suddenly appeared in the pub we were in with a smashed glass ashtray, because he was going to sort somebody out,
Oh, dear.
in a rather more violent manner than just rolling up the shirt sleeves and taking his jacket off, but he always somehow managed to talk him out of actually getting involved in
Yeah.
violence.
How times have changed. I don't think there's much of that going on anymore.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, no, I hope not as well.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Tour de France because I
Let's
wanted to
do
talk
that.
to you about this the other day. I was amazed to see a piece earlier on in the week from one of the papers that said that you know how the Tour de France is starting off in Britain this year, which is partially
Amazing.
kind of confusing to me in the first
And-
place.
and
right?
me, how can
But
we
it's
do Tour de
starting-
France?
it's starting off in Yorkshire, and apparently there are people a bit like what they do when the
Wimbledon.
Open's on and at Wimbledon, where they're renting out their houses
Amazing.
that are along the route of the Tour de France.
And where
I
is
think-
this?
Well, it's coming down from Leeds, I think, and
Yeah,
it's working
Yorkshire.
its way down through
Yeah.
the ridings of Yorkshire, if you'll pardon the pun. Then it's coming all the way down. It's actually coming through London, I think, on July the 7th.
I've seen the signs. I've seen the signs
posters.
saying
They're gonna-
road closures.
Yeah, they're going to close off large portions of central London. But the thing that's amazing me is people are apparently willing to pay as much as £8,000 a month to actually sit on this on the site of where the Tour de France is going to
On
go.
the route.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I saw a programme about this the other night. Absolutely fascinating programme. And it goes through a part of Yorkshire which has got the highest rising road in Britain.
All right. Is that like Shap Fell or somewhere?
Well, I don't think it's Shap Fell because that's in Derbyshire, I think.
Oh, is it?
But this road in Yorkshire, it goes from point A to point B over 12 miles and it rises a mile and a half or something like that. You know what I mean? It's an incredible test for cyclists who do it all the time in training up there, and these guys can do it in
Yeah.
15 minutes or something like that.
Well, we keep seeing it.
So
We
it's-
talked about this before. These pelotonists, all these
Yeah,
characters
that's right,
there that
yeah.
you see out
Yeah.
there practicing at the weekend. So they're not in the Tour de France, by the way. They're just on a peloton.
Yeah, on a peloton, right, okay. But the most amazing thing was they focused on a local woman. This was, I think this was a countryside show, basically, but saying this is where the Tour de France is coming. They focused on this local woman called Beryl Burton.
Oh, yeah.
Now, she was the greatest cyclist this country's ever had. And I don't just
Really?
mean woman. Yeah, she
Well,
was better than
Chris
Tommy
Hoy
Simpson.
and all
well,
those people.
well, up till Chris Hoy to recently, but I mean, certainly in those days, around the 60s and 70s, she was so good she used to regularly beat men in time trials and all this kind of stuff. There's a very, very famous story about her. Apparently there's this time trial, Mike, where you get on your bike, right, and this is no joke, you get on your bike, and you cycle for 12 hours, and then you get off your bike, and the person who's gone furthest is the winner. And she...
Oh, so you just go for 12 hours and see how far you get?
Yeah, you just get on your bike and you just cycle for 12 hours. It's absolutely amazing. Anyway, she covered 227.5 miles, which was a mile and a half more than Britain's best male distance cycler. But the best part of the story is that you set off at sort of 15-minute intervals, you see what I mean? And she was on this time trial... And eventually, she came round a corner and she's going up a hill and she realises the bike in front of her is the British male champion distance cyclist.
They set off 15 minutes ahead of her.
Yeah, and his name was something like Mike McNamara or something like that. And she was so worried about having to overtake him and wondering how he'd react to it that she remembered she had a bag of licorice all sorts in her pocket. So as she was steaming past and came up to him, they were both Yorkshire people, she said, "Hi, Mike, how you doing?" And he sort of casually looked over and said, "All right, love, you all right?" She said, "Yeah." And she offered him a packet of licorice all sorts. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I'll have a couple of those, please. Give me a bit of energy." So he took a couple of licorice all sorts. And then she said, "You all right then?" Yeah, put it back in the pocket. He said, "See you." And then she shot off ahead of him and beat him in the time trial.
Wow.
Isn't that an amazing
That's
story?
amazing. I've never heard of her.
Oh, she was a world...
Given that we are now a nation of cycling aficionados and cycling addicts, I'm surprised
this woman
that,
she was a world record holder over 30 years or something. She
What was her name?
Beryl Burton.
Beryl Burton.
An
I'll
absolute
have to look that
phenomenon.
up.
An absolute phenomenon. I'll say, I ask anybody out there who's listening now, look up Beryl Burton on Google and you will see she's one of the most amazing athletes this country's ever had.
Wow.
Quite astonishing woman. And guess what? She died at the age of 58 in about, I don't know when it was, the late 60s, early 70s, might even be more recently. And you know what she was doing?
What was she doing?
She was cycling around her village, delivering invitations to her 60th birthday party.
Wow.
When she suddenly collapsed and died of a heart attack on her bike.
Sounds like a fascinating woman.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Woman. Well, I shall certainly be going to look out for that. Well, it's been a fascinating few hours, Mr. Perry.
Certainly has, as usual.
I'll be delighted to do it all again coming up later on tonight. There will be lots more to come, of course, in the next hour. We're going to be looking ahead to some of the action from the weekend, because we've got no football today, but loads more football coming up, of course, on Saturday. It's all live right here on TalkSport. The last 16 has now been finally decided. We're also going to be talking to one of the Chilean football experts that we've got here on TalkSport to find out what they're going to be doing to Brazil, because I think they might knock Brazil out. I don't know about you. We haven't had a chance to do any predictions. We might have to do those tonight, actually. Mike, Paul, Harry and myself will be back later on, and I'll be back right after what's coming up next, which is, of course, the news and sports headlines. Keep your calls coming in, 08717 223344. You can text us on 81089, email via the website talksport.com, and, of course, you can find us on social media at TS Extra Time. Right now, it's coming up to very nearly 5 o'clock. It's time for the sports headlines with Bob Ballard and the news headlines with Sandy Ward.